dragging her dying body. She knelt before God and pleaded, "If there is a reason I came here, then even if I must offer up my life, I will bring back the one I love most." When she opened her eyes again, she had become the side character Tia, and she even inexplicably inherited an enormous fortune. On the spot, Tia transformed into the most devoted diehard fan of the one she loved. She decided to leverage her noble status to attend a banquet. In her eyes, money was nothing but fleeting clouds. Thus, Tia activated her idol-chasing mode. She finally met the novel's main characters, whom she had dreamed of day and night. The male lead, Helios, as the crown prince, had black hair and golden eyes, a flawless setup. The female lead, Diana, as the saint, had long pink hair with a pearly sheen. Such looks pierced straight into Tia's little heart. And there was one more, with a calm personality that, for his goals, sometimes did not hesitate to make cruel decisions, yet who showed an ultimate, exclusive tenderness only toward the heroine. A unique, unparalleled beauty who could not be found anywhere in the entire universe. The second male lead, Kael'ris, that was Tia's most beloved, the one and only. The three of them in the same frame were simply a walking art gallery. For Tia, just being able to see the protagonists of her favorite novel with her own eyes was already enough. Diana was called the saint blessed with God's healing power. She always stood on the side of the weak, bestowing mercy and love. She was the sole existence referred to as hope. Faced with such a woman, both Helios, who was not only the male lead but also the crown prince, and the Marquis Kael'ris would, of course, fall in love with her. While she was surrounded by love, she was also hated by the villainous noble lady, Latona. Harboring ambitions to become empress, Latona regarded Diana as a thorn in her side. She continuously oppressed the heroine, even publicly humiliating her with words. Under the pressure of the nobility, the crown prince gave up the woman he loved and accepted this engagement. In the end, for the sake of his friend and the woman he loved, Kael stood in the line of fire without a moment's hesitation. Yet the woman he loved was utterly disappointed in him. Using this event as a turning point, Diana completely left Kael. According to the original story, the male and female leads married happily with everyone's blessings. Tia did nothing and simply waited for the novel's ending to arrive. Looking at the blissful couple, Tia sincerely wished that Kael, standing behind them, could also find happiness, that he could put down the pain of heartbreak and live an easy life. Tia had long since prepared herself to return to reality. She had clearly longed for it so much, yet a year later, when Tia saw her beloved again, it was as he stood before death. She had thought that after a good sleep, she would return to reality. But when she woke up the next day, nothing had changed. Tia refused to accept this fact. She woke then slept, slept then woke. She made it through spring. She lived through summer. She endured autumn, but she broke down in winter. Her bodily functions gradually deteriorated. In the year that followed, she was still trapped inside the novel. She could not understand why God had made her come to this world. Whether it was this unfamiliar world or the blind, directionless future, all of it tormented Tia. But the most painful of all was that her beloved second male lead, Kael, kept attempting suicide. Collapsed by the double abandonment of his closest friend and his lover, having lost the will to live, he repeatedly attempted suicide in the year after the ending. Every night, she prayed that she would open her eyes and be back in reality. But reality only mocked her cruelly. Tia walked deep into the forest. She kept complaining aloud about why God tormented her this way. Even if she could not go back, she at least wanted to see Kael living happily. She collapsed onto the ground, giving up on the idea of continuing to live. I might as well disappear from this world. Footsteps sounded beside her. Tia turned her head to look and instantly froze. Kael stood before her, face deathly pale. She thought this was a dream, until Kael turned to leave, and she immediately called out to him. Kael asked her what she wanted. Tia forced herself to perk up at once. The guards were anxiously searching for Kael. Just as she was about to speak, she was stopped. The next second, she was pulled into the arms of the one she loved most, his hand covering her mouth. Only after the guards had gone far away did Kael slowly let go. He apologized to her for his rudeness just now. Facing the man of her dreams, there was no way Tia would let him off so easily. After that, she brought Kael back to her own shabby little hut. Had she known this would happen, she would have tidied the place up properly. She stole a covert glance at Kael. Before, she could only watch from afar, but now Kael was right in front of her. She asked Kael why he had come to such deep mountains and forests. Seeing Kael remain silent, she immediately added that it was okay if he did not want to say. But Kael brought up what she had just said about wanting to disappear from this world. Tia's heart suddenly sank. She lowered her head, not knowing how to answer. Kael's words touched the tightly wound string she had been forcing herself to hold together for so long. She poured out her heart to Kael, saying that she did not belong in the place she now occupied. Kael pressed his lips together. That's very similar to me. In that moment, the two of them shared the empathy of fellow sufferers. Abandoned by his friend and his lover, Kael likewise could not return to his original place. When once again the thought of death arose in him, Tia desperately tried to talk him down. Instead, Kael felt that she was stronger than he was. The Kael she had once loved most, calm and deeply affectionate, resilient and kind, had now begun to give himself up to despair. Looking at his thin body, Tia wanted to warm that heart which had long since grown cold, even if she herself were trapped here for 10,000 years. In order to help Kale regain the will to live, she wanted to cook a table full of steaming hot dishes for the man she loved, spread out soft blankets for him, so he could have a good dream, take him to see the most beautiful scenery, and tell him that even without the male and female leads, there was still someone who cherished him immeasurably. Kale, let's go on living together. But when she pushed open the door, what awaited Tia was only a cold corpse. She stared in disbelief at the blood-soaked Kale. Tia clutched her beloved tightly in her arms, using her body heat to leave one last trace of warmth in that cold body. At last, she could not hold on any longer. Her tears burst forth like a broken dam as she collapsed, crying out in anguish. The next day, an entire page of the newspaper was filled with reports of Kale's passing. Yet his death was easily forgotten as nothing more than a minor twist in the relationship between the male and female leads. Tia tightened her grip on the letter in her hand. How ridiculous, isn't it? A love that cooled in less than 2 years. Then what did Kale die for? After her beloved died, her life was left with nothing but emptiness and rage. Even her mind grew gloomy and unhinged. Every day she wandered aimlessly around the temple, lost in spirit. The heroine, though a saint, had never once returned to the temple after becoming the crown prince's fiancé. Tia kept repeating the names of the heroine Diana and the male lead Helios, and also the name of the one who had once been her only hope in life, her beloved Kaeris. He had ended his own life with his own hands, but more accurately, he had been killed. He was tortured little by little, to the point of collapse, by the pain brought by the male and female leads. They were the ones who killed Kale. Tia prayed to God countless times. If there's a reason I came to this world, then even if I must give my life, I will still save my beloved. Tia received God's favor. She woke up once more, but the luxurious room before her made her doubt her very existence. Wasn't she living in a tiny shack? Only after taking a few steps did she realize how light and comfortable her body felt. This feels just like Hestia's original body. Sensing that something was wrong, she immediately pushed open the window. Outside, the streets were bustling with lively scenes. Today was the wedding night of the male and female leads. Though she was troubled over why she had crossed over to the end of the novel, there was an even bigger problem to solve right now. Today was also the day Kale would first attempt to end his own life. Tia rushed straight to the carriage. She flung out a large handful of gold coins and ordered the coachman to depart at once. She no longer wanted the heroine to have anything to do with Kale. If the male lead was a fiery, passionate pursuer standing before her, then Kale was the one silently offering everything from behind. But from beginning to end, Diana had never once said thank you to Kale. Tia refused to let his sincerity be trampled in vain. With great forcefulness, she declared that she had urgent business and must see the Duke. Taking advantage of the moment the two were stunned, Tia immediately diverted their attention, and in the next second she spun around and slipped away. Knowing the original story like the back of her hand, she easily found her way to Kale's room. Without hesitation, she pushed the door open and shouted, "My Lord Marquis." She saw Kale holding a dagger, its tip pressed against his throat. With a heart already dead, he asked, "Who are you?" The butler was so terrified, he nearly dropped dead on the spot. Tia clenched her fists. In this lifetime, her ultimate goal was to make the heroine who abandoned Kale regret it to the very core. She hurled her whole body forward, slamming into him and knocking the dagger flying. Kale, utterly bewildered, raised a hand to scratch his head. Tia introduced herself solemnly. "I've come here to become the Marchioness." The butler at the side had already been scared out of his wits. Ever since his master had been neglected by those he trusted, he had never recovered. But now, this chaotic room, a master bent solely on dying, being attacked on the spot by a strange woman, and even being proposed to by her face to face. The butler's mind went completely blank. Tia herself was about the same. She pressed her lips tightly together. Even if she had caused a huge disaster this time, she would never again allow her beloved to die. Kale sighed impatiently. "Marriage." Tia hurried to explain, but before she could finish, she was cut off. His laughter left Tia at a total loss for a moment. With his pale face, he mocked himself. "Have I already become someone anyone can treat however they please?" Tia's heart trembled. "I only want to save you, my Lord Marquis." "Then let's do as you say." As soon as the words fell, both she and the butler were stunned, staring at Kale in utter disbelief. Kale rose and said it didn't matter. Tia's very soul trembled. "No matter how bad your condition is, you can't just agree to marry so casually." Kale tossed all these troublesome matters to the butler to handle, then immediately issued an order for the guests to leave. The butler and Tia stared at each other, eyes wide, the awkwardness reaching its peak. Tia was almost on the verge of breaking down. After studying her emotions, she formally introduced herself to the butler. She wanted to ask a few equally rude questions of the person who had behaved rudely, barging into the Marquis's estate without cause, throwing herself at the Marquis, and forcefully proposing marriage. Yet the butler did not show any intention of blaming her. Instead, he expressed deep gratitude to Tia for saving his master. It was just that her string of actions made it seem as if she had long known the Marquis would die. For a moment, Tia did not know how to explain. If she spoke of possessing someone's body and being reborn, she would probably be treated as a lunatic. But then she thought it through. In a fantasy novel like this, supernatural powers were very common. And now that she was entangled with the second male lead, Kale, she was no longer a side character. From this moment on, Hestia would appear as one of the novel's main characters. She vowed solemnly that she possessed the ability to foresee the future. The butler's eyes widened once more. His stiff reply clearly showed he did not believe her. Helpless, Tia brought up the pink crystal. It was a gift the Marquis had bought, originally intending to give it to the Saint Diana. But he never managed to give it, so it ended up in the third drawer of the bookshelf. Only 2 people knew of this matter. And even so, the butler was still half in doubt. She wanted to use this ability for the sake of saving the Marquis. No matter how extreme Kale's actions might become in the future, she would be able to stop him in advance. But the premise was that she had to stay in the closest position to the Marquis and also possess sufficient authority. Tia laid out in full her reasons for wanting to become the Marchioness. "I promise I will never do anything that oversteps the bounds of being the mistress of this house." She was already prepared that if she could not persuade them, she would be thrown out on the spot. After careful consideration, the butler finally decided to wait until his master had calmed down before discussing it further. Once he left, Tia let out a long breath. Since she had come this far, no matter what, she had to stop Kale from killing himself. "I must save my beloved." Staring out the window, Kale muttered to himself, "What on earth should I do?" The little devil teased her about that whole crazy stunt she pulled yesterday. Tia said that at first she only wanted to be a secretary, but the moment she saw that look in his eyes, she understood that just being a secretary would never be enough to suppress his urge to die. Saving Kale's life was the only purpose for her coming to this world. The little angel gave a faint smile. "Don't forget, we will always be by your side." Leaving those words behind, it disappeared. Tia's eyes flew open. That dream left her with a faint sense that something was off. Not long after, the butler came to take her to see the Marquis to discuss the marriage. She first asked how Kale was doing. Only when she heard the butler say he's stable did Tia finally breathe a sigh of relief. The butler grew suspicious. "Didn't you say you could see the future?" Tia hurriedly explained. She could only foresee major events, not small details. The butler said he was only joking. He had scared her so much her heart nearly leapt out of her chest. He then turned and kindly reminded Tia, "Though the master is calmer than yesterday, I'm afraid the talk won't go smoothly." Tia was not flustered at all. "It's fine. Just bring a glass of brandy fruit wine." The butler instantly straightened with solemn respect, believing even more firmly in her ability to foresee. The 2 of them walked up to the office door. She had already prepared herself to be thrown out at any moment. The door had barely opened when they saw Kale sitting on the sofa, haggard, staring blankly at Tia. That utterly lifeless appearance made one's chest tighten. The moment their eyes met, Tia once again uncontrollably recalled her previous life. But in this life, she would never stand by and do nothing. She stepped forward and greeted the Marquis in a loud, clear voice. Kale let out a long sigh. Getting no response, Tia puffed up with anger like a little tomato. The butler took out the contract documents for the 2 of them. The document stated that, as Marchioness, Tia would not only receive equal treatment, but also have property rights. The contents were airtight, and the wording was plain and easy to understand. Truly worthy of a wanting butler. But Tia requested that the property clause be removed, saying she was not here for money. The butler nodded in agreement, then turned to ask Kale, "Then, my lord Marquis, regarding this marriage, do you truly—" Before he could finish, Kale signed his name without even looking. Both of them panicked and hurriedly tried to persuade him to at least read it first. But Kale, looking utterly dejected, said it was all the same to him, as long as they stopped bothering him. Tia could no longer bear to look at that desolate gaze of his. She said firmly, "You won't regret it." Yet Kale sealed his heart off completely, letting no one approach. Immediately after, the 2 of them were thrown out. Tia murmured under her breath, "I should go to the church. I have to take back what belongs to Kale." Let's start with Diana. The heroine Diana was a saint, but because she was born a commoner, she had no status at all in the temple. For her sake, Kale donated his most fertile lands to the temple right in front of Diana. Because of this, the saint's status soared. She became the crown prince's fiancée and lived happily ever after. But does that make any sense? Diana never once said a word of thanks to Kale. Instead, she coldly cast him aside. Tia would see that what Kale had given was returned to its rightful owner, and she would also make Diana understand, etched into her very bones, just how important the things Kale had given her truly were. The priest hurried over to receive the Marquis's carriage. When Tia stated that she was already the Marchioness, the priest snorted with laughter, convinced she was lying. That the Marquis could not forget the saint was common knowledge to all. Tia ignored his mockery outright. After all, arguing with a low-ranking priest like this was a complete waste of breath. Just as the priest was about to stop her, a large handful of money was thrown right in his face. The power of money made him collapse on the spot. Tia said carelessly that she wanted to see a high-ranking priest and was then duly brought into an office. But the man there began to doubt her identity. Tia took out the marriage contract. They had no choice but to admit that the woman before them was indeed the Marchioness. Tia went straight to the point. "I'm here to reclaim the alien lands that my Lord Marquis donated." The man immediately jumped up and roared, "This is outrageous. How can something offered to God be taken back?" Tia calmly took a sip of tea. Back then, what my Lord Marquis donated was land for the saint, not for God. And now that the saint is no longer in the temple, it naturally becomes invalid. Blinded by greed, the temple swallowed the land outright. Because they feared Kale would hold them accountable, they gave Diana special treatment. You think I don't know? Don't underestimate a reader who's gone through the novel that many times. For the moment, the man had no idea how to handle this problem. He asked Tia to wait for a while. Tia was muttering to herself about how long she was supposed to wait. Just then, a white-haired old man walked up behind her and bowed in greeting. She hadn't expected the high priest to come in person. He first soothed Tia, telling her to calm down a little. In the very next second, the kindly, gentle face released open hostility. The land could not possibly be returned. My Lord Marquis is also clearly aware that the land was never fully placed under the saint's name. Therefore, the land already belongs to the temple. Inwardly, Tia cheered herself on. She absolutely must not show weakness. She was the Marchioness now. Then there's nothing more to be done. The saint praised by the world was in fact cold and heartless. A wicked woman who used an innocent marquis to gain status, coupled with a temple that took every advantage it could. Don't you think that would make a perfect front page headline for tomorrow's paper? What do you think of that? Your Excellency the Bishop? The bishop's expression turned ugly as he pretended not to understand. Just look at how he was barely maintaining that strained smile. Tia only found it amusing. In that case, she might as well rip that smile off completely. Then how about this headline? The crown princess-to-be, whose pure face hides two sides, forcibly seizes land by exploiting a pure-hearted marquis. How does that sound? Just imagining it is thrilling. Many nobles already looked down on the crown princess-to-be because of her commoner origins. The bishop's heart gave a jolt. Though Saint Diana had the support of the commoners, she was still not truly accepted by the nobility. If a connection of mutual aid between her and the temple were exposed at a time like this, that would be disastrous. Watching the priest stubbornly refuse to yield, Tia gave a faint smile. She openly threatened him. If the land wasn't returned, she would immediately appeal to His Majesty the Emperor, accusing the temple of illegally pocketing donated funds for profit. The bishop leapt to his feet and roared, "How dare you spout nonsense without any proof?" Tia did not retreat in the slightest. "Are you certain there is no proof?" The bishop was shaken by her imposing manner. He quickly lost ground. If she appealed to His Majesty, the temple would inevitably be investigated. At that point, all their other misconduct would be dragged into the light as well, and the mere possibility that she held evidence in her hands was enough to keep them on edge. In reality, Tia had no evidence at all. She was only bluffing. With a wounded tone, Tia said, "It truly saddens me that Your Excellency the Bishop would be so ungracious. I'll give you all a chance to settle this quietly. A spotless high priest surely understands what I'm saying." With those words, the bishop had no choice but to compromise. The butler hurried over with an anxious look on his face. Tia proudly took out the alien land ownership guarantee. The butler was so excited, he could hardly contain himself. The two of them spun around in circles celebrating. As expected of Lady Hestia, upstairs, Kale also took notice of what was happening below. He simply watched Tia quietly. Just as Tia, sensing his gaze, was about to look back, Kale hastily turned and left. The butler suggested that she tell the master herself. Although Tia very much wanted to see Kale's face again, she still refused. "Kale is still unfamiliar with me. It's better if you go and tell him." The butler stared in blank astonishment. So Lady Tia cares this much about the master. Back in her room, she collapsed onto the bed and fell asleep at once. She had no idea that in her joy she had overlooked a certain crucial point. Inside the palace, someone was raging over the information in his hands. The Marquis has taken a wife? Such an absurd thing. I won't believe it until I see it with my own eyes. Tia had forgotten what kind of butterfly effect this matter would trigger. Early the next morning, Kale summoned her for a talk. Tia sat nervously to one side, her heart in turmoil. She had planned to go inspect the land today, but instead Kale had called her indirectly. Could it be that because I took Diana's land back, he's in a bad mood and wants to kick me out? Kale spoke her name. The two of them sat on the sofa, staring at each other in silence for a long time. His direct gaze into her eyes made Tia space out for a second. It was only in the next moment that she snapped back and hurriedly introduced herself. Kale began his questioning. "What is your real reason for wanting to marry me?" Tia hesitated. She obviously couldn't say. "I'm here to save you, the man who will try to kill himself over and over in the future." Kale stared fixedly at her, waiting for her answer. After careful thought, Tia suddenly seemed to ignite all at once. "I don't like that royal couple. To put it plainly, I want them to apologize to you. I want you, my Lord Marquis, to find happiness." Kale asked curiously, "What did the royal couple ever do wrong to you?" Tia pressed a hand to her chest and said, "It's not what they did to me. It's what they did to you, my Lord Marquis. I sincerely hope they can at least regret what they've done." Kale stared at her in silence. His expression gradually darkened, as if he had made some kind of decision. The butler had once told him that Tia possessed the ability to foresee the future. At first, Kale hadn't believed a word of it, and even thought the butler had reached the age where he should retire. But when the butler mentioned that Tia knew about the pink diamond and had refused all money and even reclaimed the land from the church, this chain of actions all seemed to prove the sincerity of Tia's heart. Kale could not comprehend her behavior. She wanted to be Marchioness, yet asked for nothing. "Is all of this for me?" But we were complete strangers. Tia could not answer. Before transmigrating, she had secretly watched Kale countless times, but Kale had never once noticed her. Kale asked again, "It's really strange. In choosing me, do you have any other reason?" From the very beginning, Tia had only ever chosen Kale, so there was never any other option. She could not answer any of his questions. In the end, she chose to let go. "Are you perhaps dissatisfied with everything I've done so far? I'm willing to sign the divorce papers right away and leave your lands." Tia chose to leave. She asked nothing of Kale. As long as he could go on living well, she would be content. Kale's heart was stirred by this strange feeling he had never experienced before. In the end, he chose to keep her. "The royal family sent you a letter. Since you decided to start all this, I won't interfere. Do whatever you want to do." Courage flooded into Tia at once. "So that means no matter what I do, you'll stand on my side, right?" Love and hate are separated by a single thought. She was going to crush that dog of a couple. Right afterward, she received a special reward. A handwritten letter from your beloved. The moment she stepped out, the butler hurried over in a fluster. That couple really was wearing him out. "Please don't take what the master said to heart. He's still in recovery." Tia told him to relax. In the next second, she added seriously, "I'm going to see the crown prince." The butler's expression changed at once. "Leave it to me. Everyone, my lady is going to have an audience with the crown prince. Do your utmost to prepare." Upon learning she was going to see that royal couple, all the maids rushed over in unison. Cosmetics, perfume, clothes, and jewelry, the very finest of everything. In the blink of an eye, she changed from a mere village girl into a stunning beauty with charm at full blast. The maids all cheered her on. As expected of Our Lady, she looks far better than Saint Diana. "So this is what it feels like to go see the woman your ex-boyfriend is marrying." With her aura fully unleashed, Tia set out. "I will never be defeated by you." But the moment she saw the original heroine's devastating beauty, she was defeated. She takes back what she just said, but she could not lose in momentum. Tia stated that she was the Marchioness. Diana paused. Perhaps, have we met somewhere before?" Tia recalled the first time she had seen Diana. Diana had worn simple yet elegant clothing, smiling as she soothed people's pain. She truly had been a saint for everyone. Yet that very saint had abandoned the common people. Now she was living in such a luxurious room, wearing an extravagant gown as the crown princess-to-be. How laughable. Tia brushed it off perfunctorily, saying she had never met Diana before. Tia took out the marriage certificate and the Marquis's handwritten letter. After seeing the letter, the crown prince's expression grew grave. Diana anxiously said she wanted to see it as well. Once they confirmed it was indeed Kale's handwriting, both of them were in disbelief, especially the heroine favored by this world. Seeing the half-suspicious look on the male lead's face, Tia quietly smiled. "No matter how you doubt me, the fact that I am the Marchioness will not change. The crown prince was the one to break the surface harmony. Even if you are the Marchioness, isn't threatening and seizing land from the temple an abuse of power?" Tia replied coolly. Was the land offered to Her Highness the Crown Princess to be back when she was a saint truly the property of a temple? That would be what you call using one's status to plunder. Diana rose to refute her. The temple has no private property. Everything offered to the temple belongs to God. That makes it even stranger. Isn't Her Highness the Crown Princess to be now using God's granted power solely for the royal family's sake? Before returning here, Tia had been in excruciating pain all over. She had gone to the temple, begging for just one meeting with the saint. On the verge of death, she had been mercilessly refused. After becoming Crown Princess-to-be, Diana no longer healed the people in the name of the saint. The saint no longer belonged to anyone. Tia asked aloud, "Does this truly accord with God's will?" The crown prince stretched out an arm to shield the bewildered Diana and warned Tia to watch her tongue. Tia apologized politely, then said, "To be honest, Wasn't the reason for donating the land nothing more than past feelings of admiration for the saint? Do the two of you wish for my husband to remain bound by his old love? The royal couple were left speechless by her retort. As long as they did not want Kale to remember Diana forever, they ought to allow him to settle the past. I will never resent the two of you for my husband's past. All that is over now. I believe there will be a better future, and I hope you can understand. What I'm doing is for that future. The crown prince's face darkened, and he immediately shifted his line of attack. Exactly what means did you use to get into the Marquis's household? Tia gave a faint smile. Not everyone must burn with a passionate love like the two of you in order to become husband and wife. In this battle of words, Tia completely triumphed. Yet the crown prince still refused to let it go. Why did Kale choose you, of all people? Tia frankly stated that she possessed the ability to foresee the future. The crown prince looked at her as though watching a joke. She had already expected that they would not believe her so easily. But Diana seemed to be greatly shaken. She had always believed herself to be the most special existence in the world. Tia would see that belief utterly collapse. If you don't believe me, then let me foretell a future. Tia told Kale in detail how she had fought back against the male and female leads. She had thought he would still be hung up on the heroine, but to her surprise, Kale didn't care at all. He even suddenly leaned in close and said, "Thank you. I'd like to show you my gratitude." The closeness left Tia instantly at a loss. She couldn't help but sigh inwardly. This face is the salvation of my life. For a moment, Tia didn't know what reward to ask for. She thought about it seriously, but her mind couldn't help drifting in a strange direction. The unhealthy thought had barely surfaced before it exploded. Kale was so startled by that overly suspicious expression of hers that he stepped back. "What is it that you desire so much?" Wiping away a bit of drool, Tia explained, "If possible, please allow me to hire a private tutor." When she mentioned Lady Harmonia, Kale froze for a second. Does it have to be her? She nodded. Lady Harmonia was the noble closest to the heroine Diana. The reason she wanted to invite the heroine's friend, and not an enemy, was that this woman was the only noble who had shown genuine goodwill toward the commoner-born Diana. She kept encouraging Diana and patiently taught her court etiquette. She would undoubtedly do everything in her power to help Diana gain the noble's support. So before that happened, Tia had to start with Lady Harmonia. Kale sighed. "I really can't understand what you're thinking." Tia flared up like a lit firecracker. "Revenge, of course." Even so, Kale still agreed. "Though I don't know what your motives are. I am truly grateful to you." "Thank you." A faint blush crept onto Tia's cheeks. Back in her room, she completely let herself go. On the bed, she flailed about in excitement. The happiness she felt made her think the suffering of her first 2 lives had finally been repaid. Today was another day of living for her idol. To leave a good impression, Tia made an appointment with Lady Harmonia early the next morning. Barely a minute later, the other side agreed. When she announced that she was the Marchioness, everyone's eyes were practically drilling holes into her. Just then, her savior finally arrived. The two of them went to the reception room. Harmonia was very surprised. She had never expected the Marchioness to visit in person. People of higher rank usually just summoned her to their estate. Tia knew Lady Harmonia very well. The biggest reason Harmonia adored Diana was her honesty and humility, and Tia could use that same approach to win the lady's favor. With tears trembling in her eyes, she said sweetly, "My lady, I need your help." Harmonia sprang to her feet. "If you're willing, you can tell me about it." Though Tia lowered her head pitifully, in her heart she was thinking, "Hooked." Tia tearfully confided in Lady Harmonia. Ever since childhood, as an orphan, she had been bought by nobles. Because of her lowly origins, she could only be a nobody in high society. Becoming a Marchioness overnight had left her at a complete loss. She believed that only this lady would be willing to help her. The persona Tia crafted for herself was that of a silly country girl who had grabbed hold of luck by accident. No bluffing, very obedient. But the lady only looked pained. Tia was stunned. This was not the reaction she had expected. The lady should have been the type to take the initiative to reach out to the pitiful. Tia said forlornly, "Perhaps my request is too much of a burden on you." The lady hurried to explain, "It's not like that." Tia said it was all right and urged her to speak. She waited anxiously for an answer. In the end, what the lady was curious about was how on earth she had managed to marry the Marquis. The lady's embarrassed yet extremely curious expression left Tia completely dumbfounded. She had never imagined that question would come up. Cold sweat broke out on Tia's back. "Looks like it's time to bring out my special skill. Actually, I've admired my Lord Marquis for a very long time. I was afraid that after the Crown Princess-to-be's wedding, he would be so heartbroken he'd lose control. So that night, I rushed nonstop to the Marquis' estate, perhaps because he was in such depths of grief. He handed the marriage certificate to me. Having received such grace, I felt I had to repay the Marquis no matter what." Only then did the lady understand why she had gone to reclaim the land from the temple. Slipping fully into drama mode, Tia wore a pensive, sorrowful look. "My husband sacrificed himself selflessly for the saint, yet received nothing in return." Seeing the lady grow sadder and sadder, Tia smiled inwardly. "Perfect. she's taking the bait. She decided to play her final card. I'm very clear about my place. Until Lord Kale regains his composure and hands me the divorce papers, I only wish to repay this debt of kindness. The lady immediately began to console her. Tia rejoiced in secret. Success. Clasping Tia's hand, the lady said, I will help you with all my heart. One gaze spoke 1,000 feelings. The other was moved beyond words. Very soon, the two of them began a hellish training regimen. The unfamiliar knowledge nearly crushed her under its weight. But in order not to become a burden to Kale, she was willing to grit her teeth and endure. A few days later, a maid brought news. Tia's earlier prediction had been confirmed. The great thief had been caught. Now she really wanted to see just how ugly the expressions of that royal couple must be. Tia asked what Kale was doing. The maid looked troubled. Judging by her reaction, this was not someone whose name could be mentioned lightly. Was it Sepelian? The maid's reaction confirmed it. Yes, Sepelian was the name the crown prince used when traveling incognito. Tia immediately stormed out in a fury. He came running the moment he heard the thief was caught. Then he should have met me alone first. What right did he have to go see Kale? Just as she reached the door, she ran into the butler sneaking around suspiciously. He explained that he was only worried something might happen to the master. Before he could finish, Tia crouched down and patted his shoulder. And no need to explain, I understand everything. The two of them eavesdropped together outside the door. Suddenly, a loud crash sounded from inside. Tia burst the door open at once. Seeing those blood-stained hands and Kale's whole body trembling, Tia felt as if she had been struck by lightning. She rushed over, frantically fussing over her husband. Then she shot a glance at the male lead beside them. It was because of him that Kale had ended up like this. Tia furiously ordered him to get out. Helios flinched in shock. Seeing how completely Kale rejected him, his face darkened at once. Mumbling a single sorry, he hurried away. With the source of threat gone, Kale could finally breathe, but he could not understand. Why did this Tia, who was clearly unrelated to him, always show that kind of expression? This feeling was so strange. Tia gazed at Kale lying in bed, lost in thought. The doctor had said it was brought on by a sudden emotional outburst after staying in a highly sensitive, tense state for too long. Although he would be fine after some rest, Tia was still furious. Just what had he said to push someone to that point? Curious? Kale suddenly woke up, startling her so much she jumped. Kale explained. The crown prince had suddenly come to visit. Seeing him in this condition, Helios started showing concern. Are you really going to marry that woman? Kale answered flatly. Are you the only one allowed to get married? In disbelief, Helios tried to persuade Kale, but Kale was having none of it. It has nothing to do with you, even if you live as cautiously as possible. What difference does it make? He had once been cautious because of that. The very thought made his heart feel as if it were being sliced open. Kale recounted what had happened that night. On the day you and Diana were married, I went to kill myself. Tia was the only one who stopped me because she said she wanted to get married. I went along with it. The crown prince could not understand. Why would you hide all that pain? Weren't we friends? Kale was utterly disappointed in him. So, in the end, it's my fault again? Even matters of life and death can be pinned on me? Helios demanded to know why he had changed. Diana would be sad to see you like this. Kale did not want to hear such absurd words anymore. You say you're worried about me, so why didn't you write me even a single letter? If you're here just to spout nonsense, get out. Kale opened his heart to Tia. I once thought that as long as those two were happy, I could be at peace. Only when I was forced to the edge of the cliff did I realize what I truly felt. Living in an unbearable state all that time, I finally chose to die. After being saved, all I felt was powerlessness. I couldn't even die properly, but now I've woken up. From here on, I'll try to face myself more honestly. All of this is thanks to you. Hearing Kale's words of gratitude one after another, Tia almost burst into tears then and there. Kaleris was her most beloved. He was the reason Tia kept living. In this moment, she was even more certain of her heart. As I thought, I came back for you. Meanwhile, when Diana heard that Kale had attempted suicide and failed, she panicked. Although that woman had managed to stop Kale, Diana still refused to believe that Tia truly had the power to foresee the future. Using worrying about Kale as his excuse, Helios decided to uncover the real reason that woman had married Kale. Diana bit her finger anxiously. They had to act quickly. Now that news of her marriage to Kale had spread, Tia immediately received an invitation from one of the leaders of high society, Countess Ireniais. Having read the original work, Tia broke out in a cold sweat. That lady's tongue was no ordinary kind of sharp. Fortunately, she had always remained neutral toward the heroine Diana. With so little information, Tia fretted over how to strategize against her. Teacher Harmonia watched with a worried face. Little did she know that Tia was actually agonizing over whether to just resort to bribery. But in the teacher's eyes, she seemed completely pure and harmless. Tia muttered under her breath, "There's no helping it, it's for Kale." Silently, she chanted in her heart, for Kale's revenge. The teacher was instantly moved to the core. Even at a time like this, you're still thinking of your husband. If she rejected the invitation casually, it would surely stir up unsavory rumors. There was no way she could stand by and watch such a kind-hearted Tia struggle alone. She promised with confidence, "I will help you, do your absolute best. So you must attend the tea party, no matter what." Tia was dumbstruck on the spot. Just what on earth had the teacher imagined? And so, she sat and ate and drank tea with a group of unfamiliar noble ladies. Tia was panicking. Why am I the only one sitting closest to the countess? This makes it way too easy to see through me. The countess asked her to start by greeting everyone. Tia squeezed her eyes shut. She recalled her teacher's instructions. Most of the ladies at the tea party were older than she was. Tia did not want to put herself above them. The lady had taught her a way to truly win favor. Flatter them, but without fawning. Blushing slightly, Tia said, "Sitting among such highly respected ladies, I'm a little nervous." The ladies' attitude changed at once. They whispered to each other, "She's completely different from the rumors, isn't she?" This kind of rainbow-colored flattery was child's play for Tia. In the warm atmosphere, the ladies grew increasingly curious about how she had become the Marchioness. Tia perfectly replayed her classic story, recounting the process from beginning to end. The ladies were completely wrapped around her finger. Having satisfied their curiosity, they also left Tia utterly exhausted. And with that, everyone's view of the heroine Diana began to subtly shift. The Countess gave a small cough. "However, Lady Marchioness, don't you feel uneasy about Lord Kale's romantic history?" Tia clenched her fists. Her teacher had long since warned her about this kind of situation. When faced with sharp questions, losing your temper meant being branded immature. If she came off as childish, she would be looked down on. Tia pressed her lips together. "Why would I have any reason to feel uneasy? Lord Kale himself has said that was a past relationship." The crown princess-to-be, who was born a commoner, had actually dared to ignore the noble ladies and invited only young women close to her tea parties. Such rudeness had stirred up public anger. The ladies began to discuss when, exactly, Diana intended to invite them. Tia seized the chance at once. "Why don't I ask her for you?" In the next second, everyone turned to look at her. Tia hastily explained that she would soon be going to the palace. The ladies nodded to one another, then entrusted this difficult task to her. Seeing the countess's meaningful smile, Tia went into full-blown panic. To deal with all this, Tia brought out her treasure number 2, her diary. This diary contained every event from the original story, carefully organized. In her previous life, after Kale died, Tia had pored over the newspapers, waiting for the male and female leads ending. Now, this would become the trump card of her future sight ability. At this point, Tia paused. If it's this, it will definitely deal a heavy blow to Diana. Early the next morning, Tia hurried off to find Kale. She needed his permission for that. Halfway there, she hesitated. Was she really allowed to just walk into Kale's room? Feeling guilty, Tia went to find the butler instead. "Please tell the Marquis that I wish to see him, Ross." The butler, worn out by the two of them, simply suggested that Tia go directly. "The master doesn't seem to dislike you." Tia misunderstood and thought he was annoyed. Ross hurried to explain that wasn't it at all. Triumphant, Tia watched the butler leave. Of course, Tia wanted to see her beloved's face morning, noon, and night as well, but she was too nervous. In front of her dearest, she always turned into a coward. Sure enough, when Tia saw her own Kale waiting for her in pajamas, she almost coughed blood and ascended to heaven on the spot. What a beautiful way to go. Kale saved her with his very first words. He asked what she wanted. Tia said she wished to go see Her Highness the Crown Princess-to-be. Kale replied, "I understand." The air suddenly froze. She had not expected him to agree so easily. She snuck a glance at Kale. Could it be that he no longer cared about Diana at all? Kale spoke impatiently. "You needed Ross, just for something like that? Don't trouble the servants over such trivial matters again. Come directly to my room. It's nothing to make a fuss about." Tia clenched her fists. So now he saw her as the kind of commoner woman who only knew how to order servants around while pretending to be a noble. But Kale still couldn't see through the woman before him. Why did she have to be so cautious, even just to come see him? Just a few minutes earlier, the butler had reported to Kale, "My lady wishes to see you." Kale agreed on the spot. Seeing that the butler seemed to have more to say, he asked what it was. The butler cautiously probed, "From now on, my lady can see you directly without going through me, correct?" The memory of Tia's past recklessness was still fresh, and Kale sighed. "The woman who barged into my room the very first time we met is now worried about things like this. If anything comes up, tell me immediately." The butler even suggested that the master tell the lady personally. She'll be so happy. Though Kale found it troublesome, he still obediently told Tia. It was just that his way of putting it seemed a little off. Ross was wearing himself out over the two of them. Tia's face went stiff. Right now, she only felt wronged, but then she suddenly realized something. Thinking it over, she really had troubled others purely to make things more comfortable for herself. Crying in her heart, She apologized to everyone. Just then Kale was about to leave. Tia abruptly remembered the real reason she had come. She cleared her throat. "Please lend me the pink diamond ring in your drawer." At those words, Kale's face darkened at once. Tia instantly wilted, shaking all over. She hurried to explain that she would return it immediately, and promised there wouldn't be a single scratch. She even swore a vicious oath. "Even if I die, I'll bring the pink diamond ring back in perfect condition." Kale pondered for a moment, then stood up and said it was no big deal. He took out the carefully wrapped pink diamond ring and handed it straight to Tia. "You wear it." Tia was completely stunned. How had it turned into a gift just like that? In disbelief, she asked again, and Kale said she had heard right. "It doesn't have an owner now anyway." A sharp pain stabbed Tia's chest. To Kale, that had been the proposal gift he had painstakingly chosen for Diana. Tia clenched the ring tightly in her hand and thanked Kale, then turned and left. Seeing the look on her face, it was like she was heading out to kill someone, but Kale suddenly let out a chuckle. Pray for victory in battle. Back in her room, Tia was about to ask Ross to send a letter for her when she suddenly realized something was off. She couldn't keep troubling such a busy man. She should deliver it herself. Very soon, she received a reply. Tia's preparations were flawless. She had organized her information in advance, and to deal with Diana, she had even obtained a key prop from Kale, receiving the very first gift Kale had ever given. She couldn't stop herself from grinning with delight. More importantly, she instead felt that Kale really might have let go of his obsession with Diana. Tia was eager to see how long Diana could keep that attitude up. When Diana noticed the pink diamond ring on Tia's hand, she froze for a moment, then immediately turned her head away. That was the proposal gift Kale had painstakingly prepared for her back then. How could she possibly have forgotten it? Forcing down her resentment, Diana quickly put on that fake smile of hers. Although the heroine's halo was dazzling enough to hurt the eyes, the slight tremor in her hands betrayed her true feelings. She was only pretending to be calm. Her gaze was full of vigilance, but Tia would not back down. She immediately presented a letter. "Your Highness, the Crown Princess-to-be, you must now believe in my ability to foresee the future. I believe my power can be used for the sake of the nation." In her diary, she had found a major event from her previous life, the border issue. The ones who appeared at Peacock Ridge were not mere bandits, but enemy troops scouting our country's defenses. Diana's heart lurched. In the previous life, when the Emperor was gravely ill, Helios had acted as regent, fighting alone amid the strife between neighboring nations. In order to prevent war from breaking out, he signed a peace treaty under the condition that foreign merchants could trade freely within the Empire's territory at no cost. Diana gripped the letter tightly. She could not help but wonder, why tell her instead of the Crown Prince, if Tia truly knew all this? Tia smiled coolly. She then asked about the date of the next ladies' tea party. Diana snapped at her in anger. "How rude of you, Lady Marchioness. After all, the guest list and date of a tea party were highly sensitive. Unless you were very close, people normally wouldn't reveal them." But Tia loved nothing more than seeing her angry. In an instant, she turned into a tearful, delicate little flower and apologized, citing her lack of etiquette and leaving Diana momentarily speechless. There was even hidden mockery in her tone. "I've offered your Highness a major prophecy and simply assumed you'd tell me something so small in return." With this retreating advance maneuver, Tia left her with nowhere to run. Pressing a hand to her forehead, Diana sighed. "Once the date is set, I'll write and tell you first." Tia bowed in gratitude. Of course, Diana could not swallow her pride. "Don't do this again. I am this country's crown princess-to-be, and you're someone who ought to understand proper decorum." In that moment, the perfect saint from the novel shattered completely. She noticed the diamond ring on Tia's hand again, and her face immediately darkened. In the end, she couldn't help but ask, "That ring, did Kale give it to you?" Tia had finally waited for this moment. There was no way she would let a hooked fish escape. To infuriate this fake pure heroine, Tia began to show off triumphantly. Wearing the pink diamond that the second male lead was originally meant to give the heroine, she went full drama queen in an instant. She casually shook the pink diamond on her hand, each and every remark stabbing straight into the softest part of Diana's heart. What should have belonged to her had fallen into the hands of her arch nemesis. Even though her heart was in turmoil, she could only keep smiling, but precisely because of that, she was destined never to be a match for Tia. Diana kept her head down and said nothing, which only allowed Tia to seize the chance. Her eyes instantly filled with tears. "So, this gem really means nothing to you, does it?" Diana was dumbfounded on the spot. She hurried to explain that it wasn't like that. She had just never expected Kale to give Tia something so precious. Tia tilted her chin ever so slightly, yet her aura didn't weaken at all as she casually added, "This pink diamond is just like your Highness's beautiful hair color." Then she put on a suddenly enlightened expression. Seeing Diana's face twist in frustration, Tia laughed inwardly, then stabbed through the truth in a choked voice. The air fell silent at once, but unexpectedly, Diana did not deny it, and didn't react at all. Tia couldn't help guessing. She must hate seeing me ignorant yet happy. So she wants to use this to spark a marital fight between me and Kale. Having seen through the heroine's true nature, the real counterattack began. First, she held herself back and let Diana fall apart on her own. Then she took her stand on the moral high ground and passed judgment. I was happier not knowing. How could you tell me something so cruel? In the end, Diana apologized in shame. Up to now, her life had gone smoothly, though the novel contained conflicts and crises. As the saint and heroine, she had always stood on the side of absolute good. For the first time ever, she had been pushed into the role of the villain. If she could apologize, it meant there was still a shred of conscience left. But what did that have to do with Tia? She had no intention of stopping there. Thanks to you, I've realized my position once again. At those words, Diana's face turned ugly at once. It's I who should be thanking you. I heard you saved Kale's life. Tia instantly switched into devoted wife mode. From now on, she would stay by the Marquis side as well. Then I'll leave Kale in your hands. Perhaps the blow had been too great, forcing out that line from her throat. Diana then all but fled the scene. Tia couldn't care less. As long as the result was good, the process didn't matter. When she returned to the estate, she found the butler already waiting for her. Just as he had expected, my lady had achieved a flawless victory. The two of them burst out laughing together. Hearing that Kale had been troubled lately and had locked himself in a study, she asked the butler to prepare some lighthearted novels. After hearing this, the butler was instantly awestruck. You can even foresee the master's preferences in reading and drink. Tia was at a loss for words. She hurriedly changed the subject. She was going to Kale to report her results, just how hard she'd been working for his sake. But to her surprise, the first thing Kale cared about was whether Diana was doing well. Feelings don't vanish just because you say they're over. Tia understood that. So when Kale asked her, "In the future you saw, is Diana happy?" Tia fell silent, because after the second male lead suicide, the male and female leads were no longer passionately sweet. When the empire was beset by internal and external crises, they often lamented the loss of such an outstanding talent. Even the heroine's healing power disappeared. No longer a saint, Diana was just a kind-hearted but fragile ordinary woman. Those around her soon drifted away, and her only support, the crown prince, was buried in affairs of state and had no energy left for love. Though Kale did not get an answer, he could tell from Tia's expression that it was not optimistic. Tia didn't know what to do. A lie would be exposed sooner or later, but she couldn't play dumb either. Yet if she told the truth and Kale went back to Diana, "I know what you're worried about now." Kale suddenly leaned in close to Tia's face. "It's over between me and Diana, and there's no going back. So just tell me the truth." Tia knew he was putting on a brave front. Clearly, even now, he still wore that same expression. She couldn't help mocking herself. How stupid. How could he let go of his infatuation just because of a ring? Stubborn as she was, Tia still softened in the end. She told Kale the truth. After hearing it, his face was filled with disbelief. But Tia would never allow him to dwell on the heroine again. So she added that her power of foresight would soon disappear as well. By the time she finished speaking, her vision went black and she fainted on the spot. Kale only found it stranger. "You make it sound like your foresight ends because you die." Tia calmly told him that, if she survived, she would become a normal person again. So before that, she had to finish everything she needed to do, because whether she lived or died, her power would be gone by then. Kale could not accept it. "By when?" Tia answered unhurriedly. "A year. But there's no need to worry. Even though Her Highness the Crown Princess-to-be loses her power, she stays healthy right up to the end." Even so, his expression did not improve. Then he turned away and told Tia to leave for now. Seeing the grave look on Kale's face, Tia decided not to press the matter. She quietly withdrew her hand and turned to go. After the door closed, her legs suddenly went weak and she nearly collapsed. Clearly, she could have muddled through in a much more natural way. What if Kale did something extreme again? A trace of guilt flashed through her heart. If only she had the kind of ability that allowed her to take care of others. From that day on, Tia was no longer able to see Kale at all. But no matter how upset and distracted she was, she still couldn't delay her proper business. She arranged a meeting with one of the giants of high society and immediately switched into acting mode. She recounted the entire episode with the crown princess-to-be from beginning to end, sniffling softly as she spoke and pulling faces in secret. The shocking gossip left the countess speechless for a moment. The crown princess-to-be she knew would never do such a thing. Seeing that the countess was half convinced at best, Tia decided to add a stronger dose. What if Her Highness the crown princess-to-be wants to break up my marriage with my husband? What should I do? To stuff the idea of Diana's two faces deep into the lady's mind, Tia cried with all her might, but the countess remained unmoved. She was firmly convinced Her Highness would never do such a thing. This completely threw Tia off. Looks like this won't work. She had only meant to casually slander Diana a bit, but she hadn't expected the countess to be even more protective than she'd imagined. After hearing everything, The lady even wanted to personally request an audience with Her Highness. Fortunately, Tia managed to stop her in time. After she had safely seen the Countess off, he had shut himself away in his room. Now that he had finally stepped outside again after so long, the entire estate was in an uproar of excitement.
Being able to see the master like this was all thanks to my lady.
The butler, all the more fired up, said, "There are more flowers here. Please use as many as you like." Just as Kale was about to speak, "Do you think there aren't enough? I'll go get you more." He bolted off before he even finished. Kale knew perfectly, well, this was not the time for such things. Not long ago, he had received a message from the Crown Prince. Thanks to the information provided by his wife, the border crisis had been detected and prevented in advance. He knew her ability was impressive, but he had never imagined it could sway the entire empire's fate. With such a powerful gift, why did she only want to save me? Why would she fight the temple and the crown prince? For the sake of someone she had never met? Could it be that she... Just then, Tio appeared. For that one instant, Kale remembered what she had said. My power of foresight won't last long. So before that, I intend to finish everything I have to do. In that moment, his body overruled his reason, and he ran to Tia without thinking. Quickening his pace, he held the flowers out before her. I have something to say to you. Tia stared in disbelief. What was going on? What was he going to say to her with a bouquet in his hands? She couldn't help but imagine it. Kale, out on a walk, met a flower spirit who gave him a bouquet, and only then did he run into her. Yes, that had to be it. She had nearly misunderstood and thought he was going to give them to her. While Tia stared at the flowers and let her imagination run wild, Kale assumed she really liked them. They're for you. With that, he shoved the bouquet into her hands. Tia's heart pounded wildly. Seeing how flustered she was, Kale had no idea what to do either. Thankfully, the butler rushed over and hurriedly asked what had happened. With a baffled look, Kale explained, I only wanted to talk to her. Eavesdropping on their conversation, Tia instantly calmed down when she heard the words flower arranging. Seeing that his flower arranging was still unfinished, Kale looked regretful.
They would just have to talk next time.
But Tia suddenly shouted, I'm fine, let's go talk now. She was dying to see her favorite arranging flowers, but the butler, thinking her condition poor, urged her to rest. Tia, however, was adamant, her voice turning ominously low. Let's go. Master and servant both shut their mouths at once. The butler hurried off to prepare dinner. A minute later, staring at the already finished arrangement before her, Tia laced her fingers together and gushed nonstop. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Even my Kale's hands are this skillful. Is there anything at all he can't do? In the next second, she was almost in tears, regretting that she hadn't seen the process of her favorite arranging flowers. Noticing how her expression kept shifting, Kale gave a soft laugh. What a person who can't sit still for even a moment. Tia's jaw nearly hit the floor on the spot. Kale laughed. Once he realized she'd noticed, he immediately pretended nothing had happened. Tia couldn't hold back her joy. Whatever else, at least he'd smiled. She had been worried. He was still upset over their last conversation. Just then, Kale suddenly leaned in close. I have something to tell you. Tia was so startled she agreed while blushing and backing away. Clinging to a pillar, she gulped for air. Kale's voice was already pleasant enough, but whispered right by her ear it was a critical hit. Was it really okay to be this happy today? This was what it meant to live. Everything before this had been wasted life. Kale had always had one question he wanted to ask. Did she have any other reason for choosing him? Is your reason for choosing me because you? Tia panicked completely. Had Kale figured it out? But I didn't act that obvious, did I? Forced into a corner, she could only shout with all her might. That's right, you're actually my ultimate favorite because you foresaw an important future where I needed you. The moment the words left his mouth, both of them were stunned. Kale looked completely puzzled. What kind of title is ultimate favorite? In fact, what Kale really wanted to ask was, in the future you foresaw, am I needed? But for the moment, he was more curious about what ultimate favorite meant. Tia's brain instantly crashed. She stammered, having no idea how to explain. And of all people, Kale was the scholarly type, the kind who loved digging to the bottom of anything he didn't know. Can't you tell me? Who could withstand that? Face burning red, Tia yelled with her head down. It just means the one I love most. Expressionless, Kale repeated. The one you love most. That alone sent Tia's heart pounding like crazy. Or rather, the person I treasure most. I see. I didn't realize you liked flowers that much. I'll give you more from now on. Only then did Tia realize. He thought she was talking about liking the flowers. Once the awkwardness had passed, Kale said he had reconsidered her ability. Inside, Tia was wildly suspicious. Why suddenly ask this? Does he think my prophecies are ridiculous? The future you foresee is something that hasn't happened yet. If it changes because you foresaw it, then the future you saw before would disappear, wouldn't it? If you hadn't saved me before, does that mean I was originally supposed to be dead? even though Kale's thoughtful look was also handsome, cool, and thrilling. I'm really weak when it comes to this kind of sci-fi setup. Just then, Kale brought up the border region again, making Tia immediately think of time paradoxes. If she changed each event from before her rebirth one by one, she couldn't guarantee that the same things would happen this time. If a prophecy failed to come true, it would mean she'd been exposed. That would be troublesome. In the future you saw, there was something that needed me. So you saved my life, didn't you? That line snapped Tia back to herself. In the life before her rebirth, after Kale died, there had been no major events directly tied to him. People had only speculated that if Kale were still alive, things might have turned out better. Kale suddenly leaned in close. Is it hard for you to say? Tia's heart lurched. With you like this, it's impossible for me to think straight and answer calmly. Even if you survive, I can't be sure whether the future will change or not. The world keeps turning with or without any one person. After hearing that, Kale got to his feet and said she was right. With or without me, the world will go on. I'm not someone so great that the world would change just because I exist. Seeing him sink into negativity again, Tia hurried to explain. Only changing the world isn't what makes someone great, even if it's not the whole world. As long as there is even one person who needs you, and you can change that one person, you're already amazing. But Kale still felt like no one needed him. I need you because you, my Lord Marquis, are my ultimate favorite. In that instant, even the air fell silent. Her voice practically echoed across the whole garden, almost off the planet. The butler suddenly poked his head in between them. What are the two of you doing? Dinner is ready. The moment Tia heard that, she bolted. Kale, however, let out a pfft and laughed from the bottom of his heart for a long time. Both the butler and Tia turned to look back. They saw Kale holding his stomach, the faint curve of his lips happier than at any time before. It was abrupt, yes, but am I really that stupid? Stupid enough to make him laugh like this? Before long, Kale calmed down again. Enjoy your meal. With that, he left in a hurry. Because of this little episode, Tia had no idea whether she'd eaten her food through her nose or her mouth. Embarrassing as it was, her heart stayed sweet the whole time. But the moment she pushed her door open, a fresh floral scent washed over her. Tia stood blankly at the entrance. After glancing around, this really was her room. It was filled with flowers on all sides. Only the white roses pleased her the most. They were the very flowers Kale had arranged earlier. Thinking back on their conversation, Tia finally understood. So this was what he had asked the butler to take care of. She gently picked one bloom, tucking its sincere flower language into the depths of her heart. And Kale, filled with the same longing, replayed her every expression from that day over and over. The tightly locked heart inside him slowly began to loosen. In order to see that smile again, Tia had been working hard all along. She drew close to one of the giants of high society and joined forces to tear off the heroine's mask. Looking at the room full of flowers, she decided she really did need to talk with the butler. But as soon as she entered the office, a mountain of official documents came into view. Buried under the paperwork, Ross spoke with difficulty. My lady, I'll leave the master in your hands. He looked as if he were on the verge of death. This scared Tia so much that she shook the old man back and forth wildly. He doesn't even get 3 hours of sleep a day. Does this world not have labor laws? But Tia still felt something was off. Weren't you perfectly fine yesterday? As expected of my lady, you saw through this old man's acting right away. What happened yesterday had given him great inspiration. The number of times the master had smiled like that had been few even in front of a saint. So it is Lady Tia who will truly lead the Marquis's household as its mistress. The more Tia listened, the more suspicious it sounded. Seeing this, the butler struck while the iron was hot. If my lady were to take charge and manage the territory. Without even thinking, Tia shot back, I'm only a wife in name. My Lord Marquis would never agree. Then let's go ask his permission right now. Faced with the old man's bright, burning gaze, Tia truly couldn't resist.
Fine.
If Kale refuses, don't ever bring this up again. She couldn't shake the feeling she'd fallen into a trap. But the moment she heard that Kale was practicing the tea ceremony, by the time the butler blinked again, my lady had already vanished. Unable to wait another second to see a new side of Kale, Tia ran, out of breath, to the terrace. This is insane. He's just holding a teacup. How can he look so beautiful and elegant? You sinful man. How can this world not have cameras? I need to record this and admire it slowly. You're just in time. I was about to brew another pot. Have a cup with me. Her ultimate favorite was going to brew tea for her. How could she bear to drink it? The words, I can't, slipped out before she knew it. Seeing this, Kale said to forget it. In any case, he also had something to say. Once she processed that, Tia regretted it 1,000 times over. Did I just refuse tea brewed by my ultimate favorite? I'm such a stupid idiot. So, what did you come to see me about? Tia suddenly felt strangely self-conscious. Is it just my imagination? Or is Kale looking at me more gently? Rather than saying he'd softened, that gaze was more like he was studying some never-before-seen creature. As expected, this was because of yesterday. Not only were there all kinds of suspicious points about her foresight, she had also used a word he'd never heard before. Tia explained why she had come, Ross had asked her to manage the territory. There's too much work. He really can't handle it alone. I know I'm only your wife in name, and bringing this up might leave you speechless, but Ross is exhausted enough to come ask for my help. Of course, if you don't agree. My Lord Marquis, I won't mention it again. Kale's lips curled very slightly. In the past, no matter who I entrusted things to, I was never at ease. I always felt that only if I did everything myself would nothing go wrong. But now even I don't know why I worked so hard back then. Tia gave him her fullest encouragement. I hope I can help lighten your burden, my Lord Marquis. Kale stared at her for a long time, then silently consented to letting Tia manage the territory. After that, he handed her a letter from Hyperion, that is, a letter from the Crown Prince. Tia unfolded it with a look of utter distaste. What shameless favor was he trying to ask of Kale this time? But when she looked, she saw it was addressed to her. No matter how greedy he was for her ability, he still shouldn't be sending this sort of letter when Kale was in such a poor state. Tia only wanted to use her power for Kale, but she couldn't refuse carelessly either. After wrestling with it, she decided to ask the Marquis what he thought. Whatever the case, I'm the Marchioness now. If His Highness the Crown Prince invites me in a personal capacity and strange rumors start to spread, what then? Kale gave a soft laugh. What? Do you think it sounds like you'd be sneaking off on a tryst behind my back? Tia froze for 3 seconds, then flushed scarlet and shouted, Of course not. I would never do anything behind your back. And besides, he's the Crown Prince. A man like that. Give me 100 of him, and I still wouldn't want one. Kale was reminded of bitter memories. Diana had rejected him because she liked Helios. Who could possibly hate Helios? And yet now this woman had appeared, and the two of them could not be more different. But that guy is stubborn. Even if you refuse, he'll just keep sending letters. And another thing, are you going to keep calling me my Lord Marquis? Just use my name from now on. Tia's head snapped up. The name, Kale, rose to her lips, but what came out instead was Lord Russ. Before Kale could react, Tia had already dashed off in a fluster. The black tea spilled and scalded his hand. Only afterward did Kale realize it, smiling as he said, That's hot. Even if the male lead personally comes to visit, she still disdains sharing the same room with him. For the sake of his status as Crown Prince, the fact that she hasn't kicked him out with one swift kick already counts as giving him plenty of face. Who could have guessed he was secretly plotting to steal Tia away from the second male lead? Are you willing to dedicate your power of foresight to the Empire? Before the words had even faded, Tia didn't think for a second. Forgive my rudeness, Your Highness, but I'll just pretend I never heard what you said. Seeing this, Helios dropped the act as well, and the tiger versus lion squabble began on the spot. I only told you about the border report as part of a deal with the Crown Princess to be. It has absolutely nothing to do with you, the Crown Prince. Even when Helios tried to crush her with his status as Crown Prince, Tia still sat there with the bearing of someone in the higher seat. When coming on strong didn't work, Helios switched to the pity card. Are you really going to keep using your power only for personal purposes? How can you be so selfish? The curse reached the tip of Tia's tongue, but she forced it back down. Your Highness, I simply want to put my husband first, that's all. To be precise, the friend you personally threw away while you were basking in happiness. Helios was struck dumb by the rebuke. That frustrated expression secretly delighted Tia. To cover his embarrassment, he took a sip of tea. He hadn't expected to almost choke the moment it entered his mouth. Although Tia truly did want to get rid of him, she honestly hadn't put poison in the tea. Helios forced out, with difficulty, This tea tastes very similar to the tea Diana brews for me. Tia was dumbfounded on the spot. In the original story, the heroine possessed every beautiful quality, but there was one thing she couldn't do. Her tea tasted like rag water. To Tia, this was nothing short of an insult. Even if tea tastes bad, how bad can it be? She picked up the cup and downed it in one go. In the next second, she fully grasped reality. After a moment to recover, Helios suggested making a deal with her as well. What do you want? Tia gave a light laugh. I want the late Duke's lands to be granted to my husband, and I want his title elevated. This meant she would be standing completely on the opposite side from Diana, and it would also publicly prove that Kale's decision to kill the former final villain had not been wrong. Helios was put in an extremely difficult position, brushing it off with the excuse that there was no official justification for such a thing. Tia did not indulge him in the slightest. Then just find a justification, Your Highness. But this was indeed something Helios could not decide on his own, so Tia stepped back a little. As long as you're willing to put it in writing, I can help you first. But once that justification is in place, you must fulfill your promise immediately, without the slightest mistake. For the sake of her 1 in 10,000 foresight, Helios gritted his teeth and agreed. He probably thought Tia would never be able to find any justification, which was why he dared to look down on her like this. That suited Tia's intentions perfectly. She would make Kale the most dazzling man in the Empire. The next day, the Crown Princess-to-be sent Tia a letter. The date of the ladies' tea party had finally been set. She immediately passed the news on to one of the giants of high society, Countess Ireniais. She had originally thought she would have to visit in person to leave a deep impression, but the effect turned out far better than she had expected. It seemed the other party really had been wary of her before. Tia speculated that the crown princess-to-be would invite all the noble ladies at once. With her personality, she probably wouldn't want to host such extravagant gatherings often. However, she would only ask Lady Harmonia for help. The two of them held equal rank, and the proud Countess Ireniais was sure to find that hard to stomach, which was why, in the original story, she maintained a neutral attitude toward the heroine. So Tia took advantage of this point, expressing regret over the Countess's treatment and subtly pointing out Diana's unfairness. Meeting someone who understood her so well, the Countess instantly broke into a broad, delighted smile. Pressing her advantage, Tia added, "But because of last year's flood, it must be hard for Her Highness the Crown Princess-to-be to truly trust you, right?" Upon hearing this, the Countess immediately rose to her feet. Looking after the people of a territory is the prerogative of each lord. If other nobles interfere at will, it only creates even more unnecessary conflict. In the original novel, Diana had no choice but to ask the male lead for help, and the two of them personally went to comfort the disaster victims. That incident also became the catalyst for the male and female lead's relationship to deepen. Meanwhile, Kale became the big fool handling paperwork in the male lead's place. Thinking of this, Tia could feel her anger rising. Then she made a suggestion. "If you're willing, my lady, I can stir up a little trouble at the tea party." Since Diana's standard for social interaction had always been morality. As long as the Countess stepped in to help the pitiful one, Diana would definitely open her heart to her at once. As old-fashioned as this move was, it was extremely effective, and I have only one goal. I hope that from now on in society, you will act as my escort and ally. The Countess accepted the proposal on the spot. Thus, the two of them formed an alliance. By now, the major power players of the social scene were basically all on her side. And when she got home, she even received an assistant officer appointment from the Crown Prince, along with a palace pass. He had moved faster than she'd imagined. It seemed he really was desperate for her prophecies. Since that was the case, Tia decided to make good use of her authority and take the opportunity to size up the tea party preparations. She suddenly remembered a major event that was about to happen in the original story, but she had no intention of sharing this secret only with the Crown Prince. In a little while, she would go tell Kale first. She hoped tomorrow would go as smoothly as today. The next day, before entering the palace, Tia decided to first tell Kale about the contents of her prophecy. But Kale simply did not want to hear it at all. This made Tia panic on the spot. On second thought, what Kale least wanted to hear right now was anything related to the male and female leads. She had actually ended up upsetting Kale. She immediately changed her words. "If Lord Kale Ruth does not want to hear it, then I will keep quiet." This form of address inexplicably made Kale feel uncomfortable. He suddenly bent down close to Tia's face and pleaded, "Could you stop calling me such a strange name?" Clearly, he had told her before to just call him by his name, but the moment she got shy, she just had to add Lord at the end. Looking at her favorite second male lead from such a close distance for the first time, Tia's little heart almost exploded on the spot, and the flesh on her face burned all the way to her ears. She stammered out, "Kale Ruth." Only after satisfying Kale did she return to the main topic. Tia's first prophecy was that His Majesty the Emperor would soon fall ill. Before her rebirth, this had been a major event that caused a huge uproar throughout the imperial capital because no cause for the illness could be found. Diana exerted her authority with all her strength for His Majesty, and after this incident, the heroine completely lost her healing ability. Kale was unexpectedly calm, and he turned his head to ask Tia, "Can your prophecy save His Majesty?" She did not dare make any guarantees, and could only answer, "We will make preparations in advance." Having lost his parents very early, Kale Ruth held His Majesty the Emperor in great respect, and the Emperor also cherished him like his own son. So Tia felt that His Majesty was very important to him, and that she had to tell him first. "Hestia, I'm going to the palace as well." Kale's decision caught her completely off guard. The two of them rode in the same carriage. Tia was tied up in knots. What if he went into the palace, met the heroine, couldn't take it, and fainted again? Kale saw through her unease, but mistakenly thought that Tia was worried he would go and pester Diana again. Tia immediately explained, "No, if forgetting is too painful, you might as well keep pestering her. I'm staying by your side so that you won't repeat the tragic future I foresaw. So please don't let my presence restrain you. Go and do whatever you want as you please. Please be sure to follow your heart, to love and to hate. Anyway, our marriage will end within 2 years." Tia's goal was only to make the male and female leads regret everything they had done to Kale. So she did not want to control all of his emotions. But Kale was inexplicably a bit displeased. "Once we're done here, we'll go our separate ways and mind our own business." Tia had just opened her mouth to object when Kale puffed up angrily and said, "I'm not a child, and I'm not that weak either." In the end, the two decided to act separately. Now that things had reached this point, She had to quickly finish her talk with the crown prince and then go find him. However, Tia had not expected that Kale would also have a childish side. When she was passing by some maids, she happened to hear them discussing the tea party. Who would have thought Her Highness the Crown Princess was so stubborn? If they prepared everything too simply according to her instructions, those noble ladies would definitely feel slighted. And Lady Merapi, as the former Empress's chief lady-in-waiting, was the most experienced person in the palace when it came to hosting banquets. Diana had actually come into conflict with her. This suited Tia's wishes perfectly. The opposition between the most senior figure in the palace and the newly arrived royal. What a topic worth stirring up. Yet the moment the crown prince saw her, his words were full of barbs. But as she thought of how she was about to tell him, the prophecy that your father is about to kick the bucket, Tia felt a little guilty. But even at a time like this, Helios was still provoking her. Can a married woman stare at another man like that? Or do you like any handsome guy you see? Tia's guilt vanished in an instant, and she slammed the table, getting straight to the point. His Majesty the Emperor is about to fall ill. Helios panicked on the spot. His Majesty's recent checkups had clearly shown no abnormalities, but Tia did not know the exact date or cause either. She was only describing the future she had seen. The only emergency measure they could take was to have the imperial physicians and the crown princess stay by His Majesty's side at all times. But even that could not completely prevent His Majesty from falling ill. Seeing Helios sink into self-doubt, Tia only found it ironic. This is what you get for your royal family monopolizing the healing authority. When the emperor was in good health, he received healing power every night, treating what should have belonged to everyone as the royal family's exclusive privilege. But things like lifespan cannot be changed. Helios rang the bell and summoned the captain of the guards. He ordered that the crown princess be sent to His Majesty at once. Tia hurriedly cut in no. As soon as the words left her mouth, Helios fixed her with an interrogatory stare. Tia had no choice but to confess. Kale is currently having an audience with His Majesty. If he sees the crown princess, he'll lose control of his emotions. But the captain of the guards interrupted again. The crown princess said she wanted to have tea with His Majesty and has already gone to the Lion Palace. Tia and the crown prince shot out of the room. One was worried her husband would faint, and the other was afraid the tea Diana brewed would poison his father to death. Only the captain of the guards was left standing there in a daze. The two of them ran full tilt. Tia was so angry she wanted to strangle the heroine. If anything happens to Kale, I will never let her off. With an ugly expression, Helios asked, the reason for His Majesty's illness, is it food poisoning? Tia was not sure either. You'd better run faster. On the other side, Diana was carrying a tea set and walking toward His Majesty's room. She felt that His Majesty had seemed a bit tired lately, so she had come to keep him company and chat. Just as she reached the door, she ran right into Kale standing outside. Diana was stunned at first and couldn't help calling out Kale's name. Kale suddenly spun around, and his eyes met those of his former beloved. But in the next second, Tia and the crown prince rushed over, panting. Tia completely ignored her own condition, and the first thing she did was ask if Kale was all right. Seeing that Helios was there as well, Kale felt inexplicably upset, and he grabbed Tia's hand and strode away. We're going home. Only, the palm he held so tightly was cold enough to be frightening. Tia was still puzzled as to why. When Diana's name suddenly sounded from behind them, they had met, after all, in the end. What kind of feeling would it be to suddenly see the person who once made you want to die? Tia could not imagine what Kale was feeling at that moment, but Kale did not break down. He walked out as if nothing had happened, probably desperately suppressing the urge to die. Kale Ruth, you did really well. Kale was silent for a long time. You say I did really well? What do you even know to dare say that? Looks like your foresight can see right into people's hearts too. Is that why you act like you understand so casually? Tia had no such intention, but when her explanation reached her lips, she swallowed it back down. All she could do for Kale now was to let him vent his emotions as much as he wanted. I'm sorry. Let's head out. That night, feeling depressed, Tia went out onto the balcony and raised her glass, draining it in one go. But then, out of the corner of her eye, she happened to see Kale, standing in the night breeze. Am I hallucinating from drinking too much? On second thought, could Kale be about to jump again? There was no time to think. She immediately rushed out of her room and ran toward Kale. She flung the door open and shouted, Kale, you can't die. The butler was dumbfounded on the spot. Seeing Ross, Tia also froze. When she heard that Kale was just out on the balcony getting some air, Tia let out a sigh of relief, only to realize she had caused trouble again. She hurriedly apologized and turned to slip away. Hestia, you came at just the right time. Kale instructed the butler to leave first. When Tia heard this, she shook her head frantically. So as not to disturb this young couple, Ross whooshed the door shut, forcibly leaving the husband and wife alone together in the room. Kale suddenly boxed her in against the wall from behind. Hestia, I have something to say to you. When Tia turned around, she saw Kale lowering his eyes in embarrassment. About what happened during the day, I'm sorry. I was too sensitive at the time. Tia's heart almost stopped, and she stammered that it was fine, but her evasiveness made Kale a bit conscious of it. Why won't you look at me? Tia didn't dare turn back. If she looked at him one more time, her heart really might explode. Seeing that she had been drinking on the balcony just now, Kale invited her to have a drink with him, but all Tia could think about was the disgraceful scene she had just made, and she was so embarrassed she wanted to disappear on the spot. Still, this was also an opportunity. She could see a different side of Kale, and she wanted to etch his image firmly into her mind. The hardcore fan mode was fully activated. Her bias's looks were dealing critical hits. That dazzling skin. Tia was so excited, she kept thumping the table. He was way too defenseless. Kale, at least cover up a little. I am not a good person, you know. Sharing a room alone in the dead of night is really too much for my heart to handle. Worried, Kale walked closer. He supported himself on the sofa and leaned in with concern. Your face is red like it's about to explode. Are you about to faint? In a panic, Tia immediately changed the subject. Her Highness the Crown Princess didn't have any reaction. The moment she said it, she regretted it. Idiot. Kale's mood sank again. Diana did seem very surprised for a moment, but very soon she acted as if nothing had happened, still treating him the way she used to. She invited him to have tea together on her own accord. Without waiting for Kale's answer, she carried the tea set into His Majesty's room. Because he was so caught up in Diana, he didn't even manage to properly speak with His Majesty the Emperor. When he saw Helios, he only hastily fled. He couldn't understand where things had started to go wrong. Diana's attitude made him feel as if everything he had given in the past had been denied. If that was the case, why had she rebuked him like that back then? Why had she never come to him when she was sad? What was the point of that past suicide? Who was it for? And why waste your life on something so useless? Tia understood that Kale was the second male lead and was destined not to end up with the heroine. But when the novel described how deeply he loved Diana, he had seemed happier than anyone else. Tia gripped his hand firmly. Your love was absolutely not in vain. Don't negate the happiness of being someone who knows how to love. 2. You have the right to love, and you are someone who deserves to be loved. If one day you meet someone who loves you back, how happy that would be. I look forward to you having that kind of future. Can you see my future? In response to Kale's question, Tia told him, I can't, but I will definitely make sure you have a happy future. Once she finished, Tia hurriedly let go of that sinful hand and immediately stood up, ready to leave. But Kale couldn't help grabbing her, and the hand holding hers was trembling slightly. When he came back to himself, he let go and softly said it was nothing. After Tia left the room, he felt the lingering warmth in his palm. Someone who loves and is loved in return. The scene shifted. Tia began preparing for Diana's tea party. If she wanted to stand out at the banquet, her only option was to rely on an altered dress to decide the winner. Lady Harmonia was very worried about this decision of hers, but Tia already knew that high society had been gossiping about her origins, so she wanted everyone to see her true self, and, like you, madam, to focus more on my inner self rather than my birth. The lady immediately summoned the tailor. A burly man burst in with a bang. Good day, Marchioness. My name is Shikima. The shirt that looked about to be ripped apart by his chest muscles startled Tia, and she never would have imagined that he was a tailor. He was the most capable alteration specialist, but because of his commoner status, few people thought highly of him. Tia gave a bright smile. As long as the craftsmanship is good, status doesn't matter. Shikima instantly burst into tears. Though one can't help but complain here. Madam, you really do like making friends across class lines. Tia produced the dress she planned to have altered. Shikima stared at it for a long time. Then the next second, he suddenly fired off questions like a machine gun. Tia indicated, it doesn't need to be too gentle, and it doesn't need to be too extravagant. In just an instant, a flood of inspiration exploded in Shikima's mind. Tia was dumbfounded on the spot. Off to the side, the lady smiled. How remarkable. Not only did you become an aide under the Crown Prince, you also personally took charge of your territory's affairs. If only Her Highness the Crown Princess could handle matters the way you do. Tia immediately guessed. The recent rumors were snowballing. Everyone was worried about Diana's qualifications and abilities, but Lady Harmonia still had boundless faith in her, just because she was the heroine of the novel, and because the lady had once been her supporter. But now that the story was over, it was probably time for this protagonist to come to an end as well. Just then, Shikima charged in. Come and see this tidal wave of inspiration of mine. But the problem was, Shikima's shirt was about to burst. Amid the pile of gorgeous drafts, Tia kept frowning, following the lady's gaze. Shikima looked down, only then realizing he had burst out of his clothes, and hurriedly, shyly, tugged his shirt back into place. Tia pulled her scattered thoughts back, carefully went through the designs in her hands, and ended up picking a low-key, half-finished one. Lady Harmonia couldn't help trying to persuade her. Won't it be a bit too simple? But Tia was very insistent. For her first appearance in the public eye, she needed a dress with more refinement. As it turned out, her eye for style was truly wow. the moment she put on the altered dress. Even the maids got wildly excited. "Marchioness, you are absolutely stunning." This was also the best piece Shikima had ever made. To be honest, Tia hadn't expected the effect to be this good either. At first, she had also felt the design was too simple, so she suggested using crushed seashells as embellishments at the hem. The shells shimmered with her every movement, even more dazzling than gemstones. This was all thanks to Shikima giving it his all. Tia thanked him solemnly. The burly man was so moved that he burst into tears on the spot. As she was comforting him, Kale suddenly appeared at the door. Tia jumped in surprise. Kale had never come looking for her of his own accord. "Give this to the tailor. From now on, you can spend the household's money however you like." Hearing this, Shikima was over the moon. With this money, he would be able to open his own clothing shop. It turned out Ross had just told Kale that his lady was going to attend a tea party, yet still planned to refurbish an old dress to wear, and even refused to use the Marquisite's funds to buy a new one. How could that be acceptable? So he showed up with money and a grand gesture, and once the deed was done, he turned and quickly left. The maids whispered on the side, "The madam dressed up so beautifully today," and he just said hello and left. That's too much. Tia told herself it was fine, because in this world, there was only one woman he would ever praise as beautiful.
And that was Diana.
Kale suddenly stopped in his tracks at the doorway. "Tia, this dress suits you very well. You look beautiful today." The scene shifted, and Tia arrived at the heroine's tea party. The Countess had been waiting for quite some time. The two old foxes exchanged a smile. There could be no better day than today to tear off the heroine's mask. As the crown princess made her grand and splendid entrance, the tea party officially began. They were seated at the same table. Amid everyone's flattery and admiration, the gathering proceeded in a cheerful and harmonious atmosphere. Just looking at it this way, she really was the heroine loved by all. Even back when she was reading the novel, Tia had thought Diana was a likable and straightforward character, but the instant their gazes met, Diana immediately dodged her eyes. Look at the face she's putting on now. The novel and reality really are different. Diana hurried to present the refreshments she had prepared for everyone. Upon hearing her, the ladies felt deeply honored. It must surely be some 1 in 10,000 hidden gourmet treasure, right? Yet as soon as the refreshments were handed out, the room fell silent. How could they be this shabby? Even commoners in the slums could afford them. So in the end, she really had gone the plain route, trying to use her criticism of noble extravagance to express her stance. Only then did Tia understand. For a heroine whose life went smoothly in the novel, no matter what she did, there would always be people praising her, but that was only in the novel. Her arrogance was practically a godsend for Tia. It seems Her Highness wanted to remind me of my commoner origins, and specially prepared these things for that purpose. I appreciate the kind intention, but for everyone present here, it still seems a bit too plain. A glint of slyness flashed at the corner of her eye. Could it be that something has happened between you and Lady Merope? Only then did those around them realize that the chief lady-in-waiting was absent. As the one person who should never be missing on such an occasion, was it that she didn't want to come? Or that Diana didn't let her come? Tia had to seize this opportunity to make everyone aware that the chief lady-in-waiting and the crown princess were at odds. Diana forced herself to stay calm. As crown princess, it's only natural that I set an example. The chief lady-in-waiting's old habits don't suit me, so I assigned her other duties. I hope my will can serve as a model for all of you. The room instantly fell silent. How could there be such a foolish woman? Tia chimed in. Everyone will surely understand your highness's deeper intentions. But this smooth echo instead became Diana's excuse to criticize her. I hope that next time the Marchioness can dress in a way that better aligns with my ideals. Tia's heart exploded on the spot. Ungrateful, aren't we? Just look at that satisfied expression of hers. She herself is dressed in full opulence. So, how dare she point fingers at me? Absurd. The Countess beside her lightly coughed twice, and unobtrusively tapped the tea tray twice. This was the secret signal they had agreed on beforehand, meaning, I'll set things up, you just go all out and talk. A surge of security washed over Tia. She rose gracefully. It seems your highness has misunderstood. This dress is actually made from an old gown that was altered, and what you thought were gemstones are nothing but crushed seashells. The whole room gasped at once. To dare wear an altered dress to a royal tea party was simply outrageous. The lady from the boutique stepped forward, praising it over and over, and excitedly asked, which tailor's handiwork is this? At last the Countess spoke up. Not bad at all. If the Marchioness hadn't said so, I never would have guessed it was made by a commoner. It seems that commoner culture and skill are far better than we imagined. Even I want to hire this tailor. The situation flipped in an instant. Some even turned their criticism on Diana. I really feel ashamed for those expensive dresses we bought. Diana lowered her head in embarrassment. The result she had wanted was supposed to be everyone saying in unison, this is all thanks to Her Highness the Crown Princess, isn't it? But now that was destined not to happen. Tia had stolen the sense of accomplishment she wanted. Who would have thought the Countess would then redirect the fire toward Tia? How strange. Given the Marquisite's finances, There should be no need to use seashells, right? Has the Marquis not given the Marchioness a sufficient budget? Borrowing the power of a big shot to bully in his name, the two of them worked in perfect tandem, deliberately speaking loudly of how good the second male lead was to her, so the heroine could hear it all. Seeing that bitter look on her face, Tia secretly rejoiced. The heroine had once publicly condemned Kale's cruelty, all because he had forced the Duke and his daughter to drink poison tea. Although he had done it mainly for Helios and Diana, the ducal house, as villains, not only trafficked children, but also secretly raised private soldiers. If the imperial family had acted directly, it would have easily provoked retaliation. So, for the sake of the empire and for his friends, Kale had decided to shoulder everything alone. So then, Your Highness the Crown Princess, do you truly believe my husband was in the wrong? Diana replied with righteous indignation. The Marquis did something extremely cruel. No matter what the final outcome was, wrong is wrong. The Marquis ought to abide by imperial law. Tia threw out a fatal question. Then why was he not dealt with according to imperial law? Diana was instantly caught in a dilemma. If she agreed, then the legitimacy of her using Kale's help to become a saint would be called into question. If she disagreed, then her past, vehement condemnation of the innocent Kale would look utterly ridiculous. No matter how she answered, it would tear open those two faces of hers. She stammered for a long time, until the Countess reached out to smooth things over. Let's end this topic here. You shouldn't say things that put Her Highness in a difficult position. This successfully earned Diana's trust. Tia also knew when to stop. Everything had gone exactly according to their plan. Just as she stepped out of the tea party, Tia felt greatly relieved, only to run right into the Crown Prince. Tia was on the verge of collapse. Why is he popping up again? Helios suddenly brought his face close to her forehead, and pink flowers seemed to bloom all around them. Oh, come on. I have zero desire to start a romance with you. Tia disdainfully waved the flowers away. What kind of crown prince greets people by shoving his face at them first? They bickered back and forth, and in the end Tia lost out to the hierarchy of rank. Helios narrowed his eyes suspiciously. The tea party isn't over yet. Did something happen between you and Diana? Tia shot back by asking what he was doing there. When she learned that Helios was also heading to the tea party, she figured it would come out sooner or later, and there was no point hiding it. So she simply said that she had been discourteous to Diana. Helios tensed up at once when he heard this, but Tia started to play coy. Maybe I unintentionally displeased Her Highness. I brought up my husband at the tea party for the same reason you're interrogating me right now. So please don't misunderstand. Helios pressed sharply. Do you love Kale as well? And the very person in question happened to overhear. A few hours earlier, Kale had received a handwritten letter from the Emperor, inviting him into the palace for a talk. The thought of running into Diana sent Kale's emotions spiraling out of control again. But when Tia's face surfaced in his mind, his breathing actually began to slow and steady. So he still came to the Lion Palace. The Emperor's first question was, what kind of person is she? Kale pondered for a long time. She's very nonsensical and always does unexpected things. Impulsive and reckless, as if she never considers the consequences. Sometimes you feel like her thoughts are written all over her face, yet you can't figure out what she truly wants at all. But Kale was certain that she genuinely meant well for him. With a single line, the Emperor laid it bare. It seems the Marchioness loves you very much. But Kale still couldn't bring himself to believe that someone would suddenly fall in love with a man she had never even known. To this day, he still didn't understand why Tia would go this far for him. And now, right in front of the male lead, Tia was talking about her love for the second male lead, rambling on from night till day. If Helios hadn't interrupted, she could have gone on for another 7 days and 7 nights without stopping. Kale happened to be hiding behind a stone pillar, secretly listening. Tia boasted on and on like she was chanting a mantra. Kale, however, listened to every single word and silently began to reflect on his own chest muscles. Could it really be, just as the Emperor had said, that she truly loved him very much? So from that day on, Kale, inexplicably, became more proactive. He would wait to ride the carriage home with her, and would even take the initiative to call her by a pet name. Outwardly calm as ever, Tia had long since turned into a crazed fangirl shut-in on the inside. What was even more absurd was that just because she had briefly supported another man as she got into the carriage, Kale's gaze never left that hand of hers. She clearly said she loves me, so why didn't she ask me for help? Carrying this question with him all the way until they got off, Kale quickly reached his hand out to her. Tia was stunned by the honor on the spot. This was way too exciting. It's not even my birthday today. She looked blankly at the attendant, and the man signaled, "My lady, please take his hand." Tia wiped her hands left and right until they were almost rubbed raw, then lightly placed her hand into Kale's palm, murmuring a shy "thank you" because she was so happy. Tia didn't even remember how she got back to her room. Did she eat dinner through her nose? Were her clothes changed by the maids? Her goal was for Kale to become happy. Was she really allowed to be this happy herself? Even if she were shattered to pieces, she had to make Kale happy and make all those who tormented him kneel before him and beg for forgiveness. With that thought in mind, Tia drifted off into a beautiful sleep. Meanwhile, on the other side, Diana had fallen into confusion. She told her husband about what had happened at the tea party. Tia said, "I shouldn't have condemned Kale back then." Seriously? Helios hurried to console her. "You can't judge that matter with morality alone. Kale acted for the sake of the two of you and for the Empire as well. And he had believed that time would make Diana understand all of this. By then, Kale would be just like he used to be, and the three of them would be able to get along well again. But he was wrong. That comfortable fantasy cost him the dearest friend of his life." And Diana's sobbing was only so she could hear one sentence from Helios. "You weren't wrong." Unexpectedly, Helios actually said he wanted to apologize to Kale. Those words instantly infuriated her. If she forgave Kale, then what would all her past convictions amount to? Looking at his beloved's tears, Helios couldn't bring himself to say more and could only hold Diana tight, apologize, and comfort the crown princess in his arms. The next day, Helios wrote Tia a letter, hoping she would enter the palace to beg the crown princess for forgiveness. Tia crumpled the letter to shreds on the spot. Since that's how it is, she wouldn't hesitate to ruthlessly crush this flower. Tearing off the heroine's mask of kindness was only the first step. To flip the temple behind her upside down as well, Tia and the second male lead joined forces and threw in 50 billion. In the original work, the temple's function was simply to heal people. As long as commoners began paying attention to personal hygiene, the temple's status would plummet. Soap had originally been exclusive to nobles, but as long as you discarded fragrance and elaborate carving, commoners could buy it cheaply too. Kale couldn't wait to show his understanding. "So, you want to open a soap factory?" But the answer he got was no. Her beloved, of course, had to stay comfortably at home to heal his heart. She only wanted to borrow the Marquis's name, and she hoped to use the budget under her own name. Kale, however, felt it wasn't necessary. There was an idol factory in the Ilian territory. If Tia was willing, they could go to the territory together to take a look. Faced with Kale's sudden invitation, Tia's brain crashed on the spot. She couldn't believe it and asked again. After confirming it wasn't a hallucination, she hurriedly raised a hand to cut him off, and her feet unconsciously stepped back. Only after she closed the balcony door did Tia's brain come back online. Of course, she wanted to go with him, but that place also held memories he had shared with the heroine. Just then, Kale silently walked up behind her. "If you don't want to go, you can just tell me directly." Flustered, Tia rushed to explain. "What nonsense is that beautiful mouth of yours saying, Kale? How could I possibly not want to go? I'm just worried you'll get emotional and faint again, so I can go alone." But the butler had told Kale that rumors were spreading outside that he was bedridden, so the two of them needed to make a joint appearance as husband and wife for those rumors to fall apart. Hearing this, Tia was filled with guilt. "Is it because I haven't managed the territory well that such rumors started spreading? The people of the territory are very grateful to you. You've managed the affairs in perfect order. I'm very grateful to you as well." With that one sentence from Kale, her anxiety instantly vanished, and he also gave her a reason to keep living. Kale had always been sick of the world's gossip and unwilling to interact with the people of his lands. But because of Tia's sincerity, he finally gained the courage to respond to the world. "Then let's make a trip this week." At those words, Tia panicked. She still hadn't gone to apologize to the crown princess. Of course, compared to reluctantly bowing to Diana, going with Kale to inspect the territory was far more important. But she might end up being accused of disregarding the royal family. Seeing her dilemma, Kale was about to call it off. Tia raised her fist with fighting spirit and swore, "I'll definitely settle it as soon as possible." Of course, Kale had no idea about this. Forced by the crown prince's pressure, she could only go and apologize to the crown princess against her will. Judging by this posture, Diana was clearly just waiting for her to bow her head. So Tia simply went along with the flow and brushed things off with a string of polite formalities. She then immediately rose to take her leave, but Diana hurriedly stopped her. "You once foretold that His Majesty would fall ill. After that, have you seen anything else?" Tia countered by asking what had happened. Diana told her about His Majesty fainting the night before. Fortunately, he had been treated in time with holy power, or it might really have turned into a serious incident. But Tia knew very well, if nothing serious had really happened, Diana wouldn't be chasing her about the prophecy. So she cut straight to the point. "Has there been a problem with your highness's holy power?" Diana paled and protested, but her expression grew more and more guilty. So it was true. Her holy power was weakening, just like in the previous life. Tia told her exactly what she wanted to. "In less than 2 years, your highness's ability will vanish without a trace." Diana felt only injustice and could not accept the fact of losing her status as saint. Tia sighed and pretended to comfort her. "I really don't know how I'm supposed to report this to His Highness the Crown Prince. After all, something this important cannot be concealed." But Diana cut her off in agitation. She grabbed Tia's shoulders in a death grip. "I will tell him myself." "Marchioness, no."
Hestia.
"All right." The Crown Princess, who had always been lofty and above everyone, was now so afraid that she lowered her voice to beg. So Tia dropped a baited hook. "Since your highness has said so, I will keep this matter to myself. However, if you wish to hide it, then hide it for as long as you can." With that, She turned and left, leaving only Diana standing there in anxiety. The crown princess, who had always had such clear-cut answers. Would she still tell the crown prince everything truthfully and face the crisis with him? This was her most cherished morality and principle. How ironic. At the end of the story, even the protagonist would be abandoned by God. Once, the priests had mocked the commoner-born Diana as worthless, but the appearance of the male lead and the second male lead had given her immense confidence, making her believe she was the most special existence in this world. Up until the day of her wedding, she still firmly believed that the commoner's trust and the crown prince's choice were all based on her God-given power. That's right, God will not abandon me. It's fine. I am the crown princess of this empire. The next day, Tia and Kale set out together to inspect the territory, but she was so over-the-top nervous that she nearly packed a doctor into the luggage. Kale just found her ridiculously exaggerated, but how could she not worry? Almost all of Kale and the heroine's main storyline had taken place in Alien. For example, that scene where they met a little beggar on a date, and the heroine didn't hesitate to heal him. Alien was a dangerous place full of memories. What if Kale lost control of his emotions and fainted again? Seeing the worry written all over her face, Kale mistakenly thought she was anxious that the territory's condition was terrible. Tia hurriedly denied it. Alien is a very good place. It's full of life and energy. Diana had once said, "Thank you for bringing me to Alien. Here you can feel the energy of people doing their utmost to live." But Tia accidentally let those words slip out. Kale instantly grew alert. How do you know what Diana said? Tia panicked and frantically searched for a way to patch things up, but at that moment the carriage suddenly jolted hard, happened to cut the conversation off. She looked up to check whether Kale was all right, only to find that his beauty was still perfectly intact, and he was sitting there steady as a mountain. Are we really riding in the same carriage? But as long as Kale was fine, that was all that mattered. So what if she was the one who fell? Kale chuckled softly. She still worried about herself first. When he lifted his gaze, he suddenly noticed that Tia's hair ornament was a little out of place. He leaned in, intending to fix it for her, but just then the carriage lurched again. The coachman didn't think much of it, but the people in the carriage were tense to the extreme. Kale braced one hand on the seat, and with the other arm shielded his wife beneath him. To keep her heartbeat from exploding on the spot, Tia decisively turned herself to stone right then and there. With the jolts coming one after another, the two of them were stuck and couldn't move for a moment. Faced with such a good incident, Tia suddenly flatlined. Cause of death: a fan dying of happiness. Every time a strand of his hair brushed her face with the carriage's bounce, his scent washed over her as well, making her heart itch unbearably. If this went on, she really would die from a racing heart. At this point, Kale dragged the topic back again. Did you foresee the scene of Diana and me coming here? Tia immediately nodded and went along with the excuse. With his keen insight, Kale finally understood why Tia knew more about the past. It seemed he needed to be far more careful with his words from now on. At that moment, a knocking sounded from outside the carriage, startling Tia so much that she sprang upright. Shyly, she told the guard to wait a moment. The man behind her felt his ears grow hot, his mind filled with the intimate atmosphere from just now, and the hand tightly gripping that ribbon started to itch. Once inside the building, the conditions were unbelievably good. Kale, whose mouth was the only stubborn part of him, still claimed this was merely a long idle factory. Tia confidently clenched her little fists. With Kale here, things really do go smoothly. The only difficulty was that they lacked craftsmen to make soap. To them, soap was a work of art, so they were very resistant to mass production. When his wife said she wanted to ask Shakima to help recruit workers, Kale focused on something else entirely. "Are you very close with that man?" Tia explained. Shakima works especially hard and probably understands those craftsmen's temperaments better. Hearing his wife praise another man, the always calm Kale suddenly spoke up. "I'll help you find craftsmen." Tia was deeply moved, but couldn't help wondering, why does he want to help me? Kale's spirits deflated at once. "Do you not want my help?" Flustered, Tia rushed to explain. "I just don't think Kale needs to overwork himself on my account. As Lord, I shouldn't just stand by and watch. A husband helping with his wife's work is only natural." That one sentence made Tia blush to the tips of her ears. Unfortunately, such a lovely mood still got overheard as gossip by the attendants, but there was no helping it. A guest had come to see the madam. It turned out to be an old man with a chick on his head. What do you do when your wife is too popular? Clearly he was the Lord, yet the village chief was closer to the madam. Just as Kale was wondering why they had come, the neglected man seized the chance and pulled Tia into his arms by the waist in front of everyone. "We're here to look at the factory my wife will be using from now on." Tia was so flustered that she couldn't get a word out because she was so happy. She was showering him with rainbow compliments in her heart. Whenever his wife showed that expression, Kale knew she was thinking strange things again. The village chief promptly declared that he would have everything prepared for the madam. Thanks to the madam's handling of domestic affairs, urgent issues in the territory could be resolved in time. Kale praised her openly and without reservation. "It seems my wife has been taking very good care of the territory." Tia's heart pounded wildly. She still wasn't used to that form of address after all. The village chief, went on praising her nonstop. Because of the madam's management, they had been able to carry out maintenance of the embankments. Kale had just taken the work report when Tia leaned in curiously to read it, then sprang back the next second once she realized what she was doing. Blockhead Kale simply handed the report to her, watching the woman with a thoughtful gaze. Even though all these were new matters, she handled them with remarkable ease. Tia only gave a faint smile. After all, this was what she had to do as the Marchioness. Kale's eyes, however, stayed fixed on her lips, to the point that he didn't hear a word the others were saying. Her ability and charm had even drawn in the upright village chief. Maybe I too. A seed of affection quietly sprouted in his heart. At that moment, the village chief suggested that the two of them take a walk together along the embankment. Although Tia needed to go check the results, that was also the place of Kale and the heroine's shared memories. Afraid that Kale's emotions would surge and he'd faint, she simply refused. But the two men unexpectedly sang in unison against her. Kale calmly set down his teacup. The scenery along that embankment is very beautiful. It wouldn't be bad to go there again. Let's go together. Meeting Kale's gentle, water-soft gaze, Tia unconsciously placed her hand in his. Once outside, the Marquis and Marchioness strolled side by side, and the village chief started shipping the couple on the spot. He even gave the madam a thumbs up. We do have an eye for things, you know. Just as Kale had said, the scenery here truly was beautiful. No wonder the author had chosen this place for Kale to surprise the heroine. But the memories left here would probably only leave Kale with mixed feelings.
So all she could do now
Was match his slowed steps and wait for him in quiet. Kale suddenly asked, "Do you also know about Diana and me walking this road?" Tia nodded in reply. "Yes, I know it all. So you don't have to pretend to be strong in front of me." Kale was silent for a long moment, then spoke hesitantly. In his memories, Diana was always steadfast and radiant, so dazzling it made one afraid to touch her. Hearing this, Tia clenched her fists. "Saying these things makes you uncomfortable, doesn't it?" She shook her head. "To you? That's a precious experience called love. How could that make me uncomfortable? Her Highness Diana is a simple person. She knows how to look at this tangled world, so complex to us, in the most straightforward way. Perhaps living simply isn't so bad." Kale lived more passionately than anyone, but the heroine he loved most and most longed to be acknowledged by past judgment on him with ease. "So you can't really blame me for hating you, Diana. The convictions you take for absolute truth aren't necessarily right, but that doesn't mean that just because I hate Diana, Kale has to hate her too." On the contrary, Tia hoped those memories could become warm recollections for Kale, leaving only gentleness behind instead of wounds. Carried by the breeze, Tia tucked her hair behind her ear. "Let's live simply too, all right? You can share some of those complicated and exhausting things with me." The mood had just reached its peak when a sudden gust of wind rudely cut it short. Tia was blown into a complete mess. Seeing this, Kale couldn't help but chuckle. How embarrassing. Even though Kale's hair was longer, he still looked composed and beautiful. Tia frantically tried to tame her hair. The next second, a hand gently cupped her cheek. "It's already too late for you to say that now, because you've long been sharing the burden for me. But besides that, there are many things I want to thank you for. Really thank you." Before he finished, Kale's face drew closer and closer, and Tia froze completely. In that moment, when only a few millimeters remained between them, she squeezed her eyes shut and tilted her chin up slightly. Seeing this, Kale mischievously teased her. "All right, now we don't have to worry about the wind anymore." Only when Tia stared at the ornament in her hair did she realize he had been securing it for her. He'd been carrying this around ever since that time. What on earth was I imagining? Kale thanked her once again, not only for everything she had done for the territory, but also for her concern for him. In that moment, Tia's lonely, misunderstood heart was quietly filled. Since she couldn't simply walk away from the novel, she had to find a reason to go on living here, and the belief that kept her going was her one true favorite, Kale Ruth. Matching the man's slowed footsteps, she silently repeated in her heart, "I should be the one thanking you." So long as it was for her favorite, everything else, to her, was nothing more than meaningless text. A few days later, word spread through high society that the two of them had gone together to the Alien territory. From then on, Alien actually became a sacred dating spot. Some ladies were so curious that they came specifically to seek advice. Tia seized the chance to set things straight. "We only went to inspect the soap factory, though we ran into difficulties persuading the craftsmen. My husband solved everything perfectly, and even arranged all the work in advance." Inside, Tia was screaming, "My favorite is way too smart." The gossip-hungry ladies looked deeply satisfied. It seems Lord Marquis truly cherishes you. But what Tia cared more about was that, despite the commotion she had caused at the heroine's tea party, the lady, once the heroine's staunch ally, harbored no hostility or distance toward her. Had their relationship changed? So Tia cautiously asked, "Have things been going well for you lately? I've been a little worried that something might have happened." Harmonia admitted that she had actually come today because of Her Highness the Crown Princess. Her Highness still hadn't gotten used to the royal family's way of handling things, to the point that Lady Merope was going to leave the palace. The palace's veteran chief lady-in-waiting was about to leave the place she had served all her life. Although His Majesty the Emperor and the Crown Prince had both sincerely tried to keep her, the lady's attitude was firm. She claimed it was due to old age and poor health, but in truth, it was because after that disagreement at the tea party, she could no longer bear Her Highness the Crown Princess. Diana had caused trouble after all. Even Lady Harmonia, who trusted Her Highness the most, had begun to waver. Could it be she was going to give up on Diana? At that moment, the lady hesitantly spoke. "I'd like to ask you for a favor." Tia had thought she would be asked to help keep her distance from the heroine, but unexpectedly, the lady hoped she would go and offer the heroine frank, earnest advice. Tia froze for 3 seconds, then asked in disbelief, "Is that for real?" The lady sprang to her feet in agitation. "Even though Her Highness is very resentful toward you right now, the fact that the relationship is this awkward means she can't help but care. You're the only one left who dares to speak frankly to Her Highness." Tia turned her head and said, "Wait." A bitter look also appeared on the lady's face. For some reason, Her Highness had become very sensitive lately. Things she would certainly have handled gently in the past were now often dealt with emotionally. This whole matter with Lady Merope as well. If this continues, Her Highness will lose her reputation. Tia could only feel speechless. Was this woman crazy? If they just left her alone, the heroine would step by step sink into the mire all by herself. Why should she help her? The Crown Prince hadn't summoned Tia, which meant Diana most likely still hadn't mentioned that her holy power would disappear. Since that was the case, she might as well soften once. Let the lady owe her a favor. As for herself, she had absolutely no intention of doing anything that would actually benefit the heroine. The simple lady even handed her a good person card on top of it. Meanwhile, the Crown Prince was walking gloomily through the palace gardens. His mother, the Empress, had died early. It was Lady Merope who had stayed by his side until he grew up. She was loyal to the royal family and proud of everything she had done. To Helios, she was like family, but when he went to see her in person, her determination to leave still did not waver. Right up to the very end, she never once blamed her departure on Diana. In Diana's eyes, the conservative noble ladies were a breeding ground for authority and luxury. That was why she had wanted to use the tea party to express her beliefs. But this tea party had been her first time as a royal, hosting powerful nobles. Lady Merope would never tolerate her lowering the tea party's tone, and in the end, having failed to stop it, she felt ashamed. Helios looked at the garden before him and realized it hadn't been tended in a long time either. Diana had once said, "Whenever I see beautiful flowers, my heart feels calm." Helios always worried, "I hope that when you're troubled, you can find peace here. And if I still can't calm down when I come here, then I'll appear behind you. I'll comfort you, Your Highness the Crown Prince." Hearing the voice, Helios turned back in excitement. But the sight that met his eyes was not who he'd been thinking of. It was Tia. The disappointment all over his face left Tia inexplicably annoyed. Although she had agreed to the lady's request, she had no intention of offering the heroine frank advice. On the contrary, she had something to say to Helios. Judging by his expression, he clearly had something weighing on his mind. Was it because of the Emperor's health? Could it be that Diana had already told him about her holy power disappearing? "I heard Kale finally went to the territory. Is that right?" Tia stumbled and almost collapsed onto the ground. Steadying herself, she admitted it. Helios immediately asked after Kale's condition. When he learned that a doctor had gone with them, guilt surfaced on Helios's face. Seeing his reaction, Tia was almost certain that Diana still hadn't told him about the prophecy. In that case, she might as well help her out a bit. "For His Highness to care so much about my husband, I'm truly grateful, but you look rather down, Your Highness. You must have been worrying a lot over His Majesty. I heard that His Majesty fell ill after all, though fortunately, Her Highness the Crown Princess treated him in time." Helios explained that it wasn't too serious. His Majesty was just having trouble moving around. Tia seized the moment. So it seems His Majesty really hasn't fully recovered. The word "really" made Helios immediately press her for an explanation. Tia put on a look of surprise. "Has Her Highness the Crown Princess not told you anything yet? Although I brought a prophecy with me today as well. I'd better take my leave first." The instant she turned away, just as she had expected, Helios indeed used his authority as Crown Prince to pressure her. Unhurriedly, Tia said, "Her Highness the Crown Princess will tell you herself sooner or later. But the fact that she still hasn't said anything about such an important matter is truly worrying. I heard that Lady Merope actually left the palace, ignoring both His Majesty's and Your Highness's efforts to keep her, just because of Her Highness the Crown Princess's attitude. I really don't know who actually holds the greatest power in this palace. She only painted it in the lightest of strokes, but someone as shrewd as Helios would certainly understand." Left standing where he was, Helios fell into deep thought. Diana had been acting just as usual, without the slightest hint of anything wrong. To untie the knot in his heart,
He went to see Diana.
her bright smile seemed to hold no secrets at all. He stepped forward to test the waters. "Could you use a bit more holy power on father?" Diana's expression instantly turned strained, but she quickly smoothed it over again. "So that's what you wanted to say? You scared me for a second with how serious you were." "Of course, that's no problem." Helios worried that treating his majesty every day might exhaust her holy power. Diana's heart gave a violent jolt. "I understand your concern, but please don't doubt God's power. His majesty will get better very soon. So don't worry too much, all right?" Helios had just been about to come clean when a maid suddenly came to report. The high priests were waiting for Her Highness the Crown Princess in the reception room. He wanted to stop her, but Diana, as if running from the issue, quickly left. Once outside the door, her steps grew faster and faster. Why would Helios suddenly say something like that? Did Tia tell him something? But if she went back now and laid everything out honestly, thinking of Tia's reminder, the words at her lips were forced back down. "It's not the time yet. My holy power hasn't completely vanished. I can wait until it really disappears to tell him." Meanwhile, Helios wearily pressed a hand to his forehead. The person he trusted had left. His father's health was worsening, and on top of that he had to suspect his beloved. How had it come to this? In the past, whenever he was troubled, there had been someone who stayed by his side. He had to see Kale. The next day, Tia was treated to quite the sight. The two male leads stood opposite each other, as if competing in looks. They even wanted to talk behind her back. Tia worried that Kale would get eaten alive, and immediately warned him, "If anything happens, you have to call me right away, okay?" Just a few days earlier, Kale had received an order from the Crown Prince to meet in a quiet place. Under the pressure of rank, he could not refuse. Tia's hackles had gone up on the spot. "No matter what, you can't be giving orders to a patient." She calmed herself and analyzed it. His Highness the Crown Prince seemed extremely worn down right now, and she had just poked right at his sore spot. Kale stared pensively at his teacup. When he had been hurting before, Helios had never contacted him. Yet now, after everything, he suddenly wanted to meet. He clearly should have been angry, but seeing Tia fuming as if standing up for him, Kale instead slowly calmed down. And when she got worked up, she even called the Crown Prince by name. Tia spoke slowly, lowering her voice. "I'm going with you." Kale was taken aback at first, but in the end decided to take her along to the meeting. Judging from the place Helios had chosen, he had probably come without telling Diana. Perhaps their attending physician had also noticed the lady's worry. "Lord Marquis will be fine. If you keep worrying like this, I'll have to give the medicine I prepared for him to you first." But they were talking way too long, weren't they? Was Kale really all right? Just as she was thinking this, the door suddenly opened. Tia jumped to her feet and rushed over, her eyes full of worry. Seeing Kale's pale face, she immediately stepped forward to support him. Helios, however, said nothing when he came out. He simply glanced at Tia, whose eyes held only Kale, then turned with his attendants and left. When the doctor handed him the medicine, Kale raised a hand to stop him. Right now, he only wanted to ask Tia, "Did you ask Helios for the Attica territory as payment for your prophecy?" When he saw his wife lower her head in dejection, Kale didn't want to believe it. Was what he said true? Then was it also true that you asked him to grant me the title of Duke? Tia understood what he must be feeling. After all, she had always said she had no interest in the Marquisite's fortune, yet had gone behind his back to ask the Crown Prince for land. She had intended to tell him at a better time. "Tia, do you want to obtain the ducal house? Or are you connected to the Duke's daughter of Latona?" Tia froze in an instant, having no idea how to begin. A few hours earlier, Helios had been the first to speak and apologize. As a friend, he should not have ordered Kale around, but he had been afraid Kale wouldn't come otherwise. Yet in Kale's heart, friend had long since lost its meaning. "Your Highness the Crown Prince, what did you need from me?" Helios was taken aback by this sudden formality. Avoiding his gaze, Kale added, "I came here under orders as your vassal, so naturally, I should show your highness respect." Helios lowered his head in dejection. "Right now, I no longer have anyone I can trust." Kale had never imagined that someone as strong-willed as Helios would say such a thing. In the end, trust is a matter of choice. Choosing to trust someone is a decision made by one's will. Helios pondered for a long time, Diana's smile surfacing in his mind. Seeing the fists Helios had clenched tight, Kale turned to leave. "My wife is waiting for me. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave." Hearing the word wife, Helios gave a small laugh. "It seems you trust Hestia very much. She abruptly made a request of me, and then turned around and said she loves you." Hearing this, Kale stopped where he stood, that familiar, treacherous stab of pain surging through him once more. All this time, Tia had seemed utterly uninterested in wealth, but Helios had no reason to lie. If she really was connected to the Duke's daughter of Latona, had that been the reason she approached him in the first place? Tia watched Kale carefully. It was all her fault. She raised her hand and gave herself several loud slaps. Both Kale and the doctor were stunned. To have actually made Kale show that kind of expression, she really was an unqualified fan. She absolutely could not let Kale misunderstand for even one more second. Tia spoke firmly. The late Duke's daughter and I have no connection whatsoever. I've told you before that I want their highnesses the Crown Prince and Crown Princess to regret what they did and apologize to you, right? Asking for the territory and the ducal title is for that purpose as well. Other than that, I have absolutely no personal motives. Kale turned his head and murmured, "How am I supposed to believe you? Anyone can say things like that, unless you swear, without even thinking." Tia gently lifted Kale's hand and swore solemnly, "I hope you can live openly and uprightly, become a pillar of this empire, and be someone no one can replace. And I will help you achieve all of that until it all comes true. I will never let go of these hands." In truth, Tia did have her own private motives. She wanted to force the protagonist couple to bow their heads to Kale, to make this empire unable to function without him. Kale quickly turned around. "Let's go back." Once her reason returned, Tia's face flushed scarlet. "I've lost it." I actually kissed the back of his hand on reflex. Standing at the door, the doctor watched Kale and couldn't help wondering why he was walking so fast. And just a moment ago, his face had even seemed a little red. What was stranger still was that the madam had started crying out of nowhere. After that, Kale kept avoiding Tia. Several days passed like this. The craftsman's sample soaps arrived. Tia ran straight to Kale's door, seeking his opinion as an excuse while checking on his condition. But before she could knock, Kale came out on his own. Seeing her favorite's face after so long, Tia was so nervous, she blurted that she'd been out for a walk, and realizing how wrong that sounded, she scrambled to add, "The soap samples arrived. I thought I should bring them for you to see." Once she calmed down, she noticed that Kale actually seemed to be doing well, and didn't look like he'd been deliberately hiding from her. So, had he decided to trust her? Of course. Ideally, he'd also forget that hand-kissing incident. Back to the matter at hand. Soap had always been a luxury item for nobles, and commoners who longed for noble life would want scent as well. Tia thanked him excitedly. "I'll go home and give the craftsman an answer right away." Her inner rainbow monologue began again. How can my favorite be this smart? Kale, however, felt a bit uneasy. He'd been reading non-stop these past few days to calm his emotions. Did she really not care at all? Completely absorbed in her work, Tia didn't notice a thing. In this novel's world building, people believed illness was God's anger or punishment. Using soap to prevent it was useless, even if it worked. So she invited the capital's top stage actors, sponsoring a play to advertise soap, and let the public accept the idea of using soap without realizing it. Hearing her conditions, the brother and sister rejected her on the spot. The script, rehearsals, and performance schedule had all been fixed, so it would be very hard to change them for new content. Tia apologized first, but still asked them to look over the contract and think it through slowly.
Helena sighed.
Even so, it won't change anything. But the next instant, she suddenly changed her tune. "Floss, bring a pen." She signed the contract on the spot. It turned out that before this, Kale had already told Tia, "We'll give them this amount in sponsorship." Tia had still been a bit worried. There was no such thing as advertising fees in this world, so she had no idea whether the sum Kale wrote was appropriate. After all, by fame and status, their fees should have been worlds apart. But the result spoke for itself. The siblings were instantly won over. "Please take good care of us, Marchioness." The next day, the crown prince summoned her to the palace. Tia bowed politely in greeting, and for once he didn't immediately nitpick. In the past, the moment he saw her, he had to throw in a few sarcastic jabs. Had his mindset changed after meeting with Kale? At last, the crown prince spoke. "To be honest, I don't trust you. You're always clashing with Diana, and openly hostile toward me, the crown prince. But the prophecies you've given are all matters grave enough to sway the empire's fate. I have to admit, I need your ability, and that's why I appointed you as an aide." His tone still carried thorns, but today it also held frustration, powerlessness, and a kind of weary resignation. The crown prince slowly rose to his feet. After their recent conversations, he had begun reconsidering whether Tia should stay or go. "So you'd better tell me honestly, exactly what you and Diana have talked about, without the slightest concealment. This is an order from me, the crown prince of the empire." Tia only smiled faintly. "Today, I'll gladly obey your highness's order." She put on the guilt of a loyal vassal and apologized. "In fact, I told the crown princess the prophecy in advance. Her holiness the saint said she would tell you herself, and ordered me to keep my mouth shut. But I never imagined she still wouldn't have spoken to you by now. What I prophesied was that her holy power will disappear within 2 years. In the original story, how Diana obtained her holy power was only brushed over with a single stroke, with no clear explanation. Since it's power bestowed by God, having it taken back could also be called God's will. Hearing this, the corners of Helios's mouth actually lifted a little. "I see now. No wonder father has still not recovered." Yet even after learning the truth, he still chose to continue believing in Diana. Instead, he asked Tia, Will you lose your power of prophecy too? Only when he heard the same answer did Helios reluctantly accept it. Tia could have torn him to shreds on the spot. She had no prophetic power at all. She had simply fallen into a book and then been reborn once more. Before leaving, Tia kept up the act. So long as I can still prophesy, I will devote myself to your highness's service. Stepping out of the splendid palace, Tia lifted her head to look at the sky. If there was anything she would lose in 2 years, it would probably be her life in this world. Meanwhile, Kale received a letter. It was from the stage actors the couple had sponsored. Could something have gone wrong? After Tia returned home, she received an invitation from Kale, asking the two of them to go see the play together. Tia outwardly remained calm, but inside her heart was out of control, as if she might faint in the very next second. She was absent-minded the entire day. Every time she thought about being alone with her idol, she couldn't contain her joy. The matching couple's outfits she had carefully designed were finally going to be used. On the day of the performance, the brother and sister hurried out to greet them. Tia, however, didn't dare lift her head, so excited she wanted to bang her head against a wall. Right then and there. Kale had long since grown used to the madam's nervous behavior and even found it cute. Helena, thoughtful as ever, quietly reminded the madam, "Our play is very popular. Even noble young ladies dress up as commoners to come watch. So please don't worry. This performance and the soap promotion will both be a huge success." Tia suddenly gave herself 2 slaps. This is just work. To actually fantasize about going on a date with my favorite is practically blasphemy. Seeing Tia force a relaxed air, Kale couldn't help feeling a bit worried. He'd heard her condition had been poor these past few days. Her complexion had just looked awful too.
Was she really all right now?
Come to think of it, this was their first time attending an event as husband and wife. So Kale lifted his arm on his own, motioning for Tia to take it. Oblivious as she was, she even tried copying his movement, until her husband simply took her hand and placed it on his arm. Tia's brain crashed on the spot. "I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it." She could only keep hypnotizing herself. "I'm here for work." Catching sight of his wife's flushed face, Kale's lips couldn't help curving upward. If she didn't like it, she could just pull her hand away. Honestly, he couldn't take his eyes off her. Soon the performance began. The heroine, a commoner by birth, told a lie she couldn't cover up. She deceived everyone around her, started a new life under a noble's identity, and in the end even came to believe it herself. Just like Tia, this was a fictional character. Her name, her identity, almost every word she spoke was a lie. Sensing Kale's worried gaze on her, Tia forced a nonchalant, bitter smile. The play is really good, isn't it? But in her heart, she kept reminding herself, this isn't reality. She was only acting this way for the sake of her favorite. If there was any difference from the play, it was this: even if the lie was exposed, the male lead in the play would stay by the heroine's side, and true love would reach a happy ending. But her ending in this world would be to lose everything. Noticing that something was off about Tia, Kale watched his wife in silence. "Do you think this play is interesting?" "Of course it's interesting. Do you not find it interesting?" Kale answered. "It's quite good. It's just that what really bothers me is that look of desolation on Tia's face." He had never seen it before he could finish. Helena and her brother rushed over and cut him off. To repay their sponsor, the actors threw in every ounce of passion they had. The surging crowd hemmed Tia in on all sides. Tia had never seen anything like it. Flustered to the point her face turned red, she was about to turn and ask her husband for help, only to find that Kale had retreated far away. She clearly felt relieved, yet also inexplicably a little down. What Kale was thinking was, "I didn't really do anything anyway. Better to stay out of the way." Kale replayed their earlier conversation in his mind. In the theater, he had been watching Tia the whole time, so of course he knew she was lying. She had sat through the performance without a flicker of expression, as if none of it had anything to do with her. She had poured so much time and effort into the soap and the play. Why would she show that sort of look? Kale couldn't figure it out. This wasn't belated distrust. It was him finally realizing that Tia was still hiding many things. Perhaps he could hope that, one day, Tia would finally open her heart to him. In the cafe, Tia was exhausted, dog-tired, and sprawled out. She could finally catch her breath. "You looked really tired this morning too, are you okay?" Tia couldn't bring herself to say it. It was because she got so nervous just thinking about the date. But of course, she could never say that out loud. The next second, she suddenly heard some noble young ladies fangirling. The two of them, faces full of infatuation, quickly turned to gossiping about the royal family. Lately, the crown prince has started handling state affairs in His Majesty's stead. Does that mean something's wrong with His Majesty's health? But with Her Highness the Crown Princess, a saint, around, that shouldn't happen, right? Tia lowered her head with a faint smile. It seems the rumors have started to spread. Before long, there will be talk that Diana's holy power has disappeared. Don't you find it a bit tiring to talk with her lately? I much prefer chatting with Lady Ace. She's really so understanding. From their conversation, it wasn't hard to tell. Diana was still forcing others to live frugally, but for Kale, wouldn't that be a bit too hard to accept? The temple's teachings really don't suit the crown princess. Tia's heart jolted. Just now was Kale. Actually commenting on Diana, he spoke again. "I'm going to have an audience with His Majesty the Emperor." Hearing that, Tia immediately tried to stop him. Not long ago, after being abandoned by the heroine, he had even entertained suicidal thoughts. If he entered the palace now, he would inevitably run into her again. If his condition worsened once more, Kale let out a quiet sigh. Diana no longer has any meaning for me, and I'm not going alone either. Just as Tia was wondering, Kale pointed at her. Obviously, I'm going with you. The moment she saw the emperor, Tia was unbearably nervous. His Majesty had already been very curious about her, and to Kale, the emperor was more like a father. So as Kale's wife, she was duty-bound to pay a formal visit. Learning that her favorite wanted to introduce her to someone so important, Tia was overwhelmed with honor. Whatever my favorite wants to do, let him do it. She had already expected Diana to be there, but why was the crown prince there too? What a pain. Watching her husband speak with such ease at the side, the tension in her heart slowly eased. Could she really think now that Kale was all right? His Majesty expressed his admiration. He had heard that the people of the territory also spoke highly of the Marchioness. Tia gave a modest reply. Rumors always exaggerate things a little, but the crown prince suddenly cut in. Given enough time, even rumors start to sound like the truth, don't they, Marchioness? Tia's temper flared in an instant, and the first words out of her mouth were edged with barbs. Yet the crown prince abruptly changed tack. Kale, did you suddenly decide to return to your post because of the Marchioness's influence? Tia was just about to protest when Kale stopped her. My wife is worried about my health and didn't want me to come back to work. I'm the one who felt I'd rested long enough. So I persuaded my wife. In front of his old love Diana, he stood up for himself. Tia had no idea what kind of expression she was wearing at that moment, but when she inadvertently glanced back, Kale was stunned, his gaze lingering on her face. The emperor watched the two of them quietly, feeling very gratified. Since they'd brought up health, Kale asked his Majesty, I've heard you haven't been feeling well lately. I didn't believe the rumors in town, but seeing your complexion today, I'm a bit worried. Has Her Highness the Crown Princess, as a saint, not used her healing power on you? For a moment, Diana was unable to explain. His Majesty noticed as well, but pretended not to and stepped in to save his daughter-in-law's face. Kale casually added, half on purpose. It seems I really was overthinking it. After all, His Majesty still has the Crown Princess, who possesses healing power, at his side. Those words were a warning. I know your secret. The Emperor's health was visibly declining day by day. Anyone could see he was a sick man at a glance. If someone with an awkward status had brought it up, they would surely have been scolded. But Kale was someone the Emperor trusted absolutely. No one but him could speak that way. And by deliberately bringing up Diana's healing power and the Emperor's condition, he was both showing loyalty to the Emperor and knocking some sense into the two protagonists. In the original story, it would have been unthinkable for Kale to act like this while they were still friends. Now, they truly were no longer friends, so the protagonist couple had to think, will we treat this husband and wife as close partners, or as opponents who restrain one another? Naturally, Tia would not miss such a chance. Seizing the right moment, she offered her advice. If you want the empire and the royal family to be more stable, you'll need reliable, loyal vassals, won't you? The protagonist couple looked at her in confusion, but met a cold expression, and instantly understood what she meant. Don't you think that, compared to a marquis, a duke would be more suitable? She finished with a polite smile. In the carriage on the way home, Kale asked why she had done that. Tia said, I don't trust the Crown Prince. We have to hold something in reserve just in case. Thankfully, Kale didn't press further and only said he was exhausted and a little sleepy. After she brought up the ducal title, everyone had seemed surprised. The one who reacted the most, however, was Diana. She was clearly displeased with such arrogance. Tia lowered her head and apologized. But please think about it. Given the former duke's high-handed behavior, we have to make sure it never happens again, don't we? So your highness should grant the highest rank to the vassal you trust most, so that your authority won't be easily challenged. The crown prince cut her off. We'll talk about this later. Now isn't the time. To dare raise his voice in front of the emperor, it was obvious he was truly rattled. He might have agreed to give the ducal territory to Kale, but Tia didn't trust that old fox. The truly crucial figure was His Majesty the Emperor. Far from getting angry, he actually chuckled and praised Kale for having married such a capable wife. Let me tell you the truth. After Kale's last audience, the Crown Prince and Crown Princess told me about you too. Since then, I've been troubled by your entanglement with the Crown Prince, and now I can finally put that burden down. Hestia, I've understood your meaning. I'll discuss it seriously with the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince has a good eye as well. Choosing you as an aide was indeed wise. Helios bowed his head in shame. Tia, on the other hand, was inwardly overjoyed. Even your own father can't see through what you're thinking, and yet he's praising me. She could have listened to His Majesty praise her all day. The more she saw the Crown Prince and Princess knock down a peg, the happier she felt. Thinking of this, she finally noticed that the radiant Kale had already fallen asleep. She was instantly overwhelmed by how beautiful he looked, practically bouncing in her seat, wanting nothing more than to pull out her phone and take pictures. Calm down, I have to calm down. Today Kale had done so well, as if he truly no longer took the two of them seriously. Not only had he spoken smoothly with the Emperor, he had also put the protagonist couple on edge. And even defended himself. She wished she could ask the coachman to slow the carriage down even more. Meanwhile, the emperor rubbed his forehead with a sigh. There's no way we could hide this from Kale. Though I pretend not to know. He's already noticed my condition. Tell Diana from me that she no longer needs to use holy power on me. I receive holy power every day. Do you think I wouldn't feel it?
There's something I need to tell you about Diana.